The cicadas chirped intermittently in the trees outside the window, adding a touch of restlessness to the scorching summer heat. Li Ming was jolted awake by the swelter. Drowsily, she reached out for the air conditioner remote on her pillow, fumbling around for a long while without finding it. Her consciousness gradually returned. Something was wrong. Li Ming abruptly sat up in bed. She rubbed her bleary eyes and glanced around at the familiar yet unfamiliar surroundings. Fully awake now, she realized this was the rental apartment she had lived in right after graduating from college, when she was hunting for jobs. She had truly been reborn. Thinking of this, Li Ming called out tentatively in her heart, "System, are you there?" The waiting felt unbearably long, her nerves stretched taut with nervousness. "I am here, host." A cold mechanical voice echoed inside her mind. Li Ming's tense nerves finally relaxed. This was her golden ticket to a wonderful new life. The way she had obtained the system had been rather dramatic too. She had been walking home from work on an ordinary day when a system on a mission had crashed into her. Fortunately, it was a formal system. Realizing it had caused an accident, it immediately reported the incident to the main system for resolution. The main system wasted no time and offered Li Ming compensation. She could be reborn, plus receive an additional golden finger of her choice. Interestingly, she would have to draw her golden finger herself on a big spinning wheel. Li Ming found herself standing before a glittering golden spinning wheel, eyeing the countless golden finger options laid out before her. There was a portable spatial storage system, a beauty enhancing system, a god-level wealth system, an immortal cultivation system, an agrarian life system, an actress, career system, and a top scholar system. The choices dazzled her. Naturally, what Li Ming wanted most was the god-level wealth system. But the biggest prize she had ever won in her life was merely 10 yuan from a scratch-off lottery. Good fortune seldom came her way. Li Ming tapped the start button brimming with anticipation, her eyes fixed unblinkingly on the spinning wheel. When the pointer finally came to a stop, Li Ming thought she had actually hit the grand prize. She could still clearly recall the main system's voice congratulating her on her newly acquired golden finger. Congratulations on obtaining the dream, fulfilling god-tier wealth system. Before Li Ming could fully process her overwhelming joy, she was sent off by the main system to begin her new life. Back in the present, Li Ming grabbed her phone to check the time. 8:15 a.m., July 18, 2024. She had traveled back 2 years to right after her college graduation. She had majored in English. In her previous life, she had worked as an e-commerce operator, introducing products to foreign clients. She had exhausted herself for a monthly take-home pay of 8,000 yuan. That sum would have afforded her a comfortable life in a smaller city, but in Shanghai, where the cost of living was sky-high, it only barely covered basic daily expenses. After paying rent, she was left with barely enough to get by. She would have to save for half a year just to go on a trip, and she never dared so much as glance at luxury goods in shop windows. As all these scattered thoughts raced through her mind, Li Ming became aware of how sticky and sweaty her body felt. Wiping sweat off her forehead, she hurried to turn on the air conditioner. Putting aside questions for the system for the moment, she got up, fetched some clothes, and headed for the bathroom to wash up. Once she had finished freshening up, she grew excited to explore her system. System. Open the system panel. Rules for system usage appeared on the panel. The system has 2 core functions. First, earn points by gaining other people's trust, which can then be exchanged for money. Points acquisition rules. Pretend to be wealthy. When others recognize and genuinely believe your fabricated identity, you gain trust, value, and corresponding points. Ordinary, level target average person, 1 point per instance. Middle class, level target, 10 points per instance. Wealthy, level target, 100 points per instance. Tycoon, level target, 1,000 points per instance. You may repeatedly gain points each time you deepen the target's trust in you. For example, you gain 1 point from an ordinary, level target and earn an additional 1 point each time you strengthen their impression of your wealth. Points exchange rate, 1 point equals 10,000 renminbi. Second, spend points to participate in lucky draws. Points, base prize pools, silver pool, 50 points per draw, gold pool, 100 points per draw, diamond pool, 200 points per draw. Prize pools contain cash, physical assets, special props, and other rewards. Li Ming stared at the panel in silence for 3 full seconds. This is nothing like what I imagined, she murmured. I pictured a god-level wealth system where I'd wake up each morning seeing extra zeros in my bank account, and all I'd have to do was buy handbags, shoes, and yachts. The system's tone remained completely flat. Host, you must earn points by pretending to be wealthy and winning others' trust. You will not become rich automatically. That's quite a big gap. I've gone straight from being a supposed big boss to another working stiff. After fully understanding the rules, Li Ming thought of another crucial question. System, is this money legally sourced? She had no wish to get tangled up in investigations over suspicious fund origins. Please rest assured, host. All funds provided by the system are fully legal and compliant. The system explained that after binding to her, it had modified her existing personal records by adding new background details. Her original basic information remained unchanged. Both of her parents were deceased. However, the system had added a wealthy great-uncle residing in the United States to her profile and adjusted genetic records to confirm their blood relation. Her biological grandfather, who had been an orphan in official records, was rewritten as the younger brother of wealthy businessman Li Yuxing. Back in the 1940s, the wealthy businessman's entire family had immigrated to the United States amid wartime chaos. Her grandfather had lost contact with them and stayed behind in China. Over the decades, Li Yuxing had never given up searching for his lost family. Finally, this year, he had located Li Ming, the sole surviving descendant of his brother, and set up a trust fund in her name. This identity has been logged into official channels through legal means. Please note, this background only supplies identity documentation and family connections. Li Yuxing's estate has already been distributed according to his original will. The host has no inheritance rights. All cash and physical rewards issued by the system will appear to outside parties as dividend payouts from the host's family trust fund. Thanks to the system's adjustments, Li Ming now possessed a seemingly legitimate rich person identity. If outsiders ran background checks, they would see her recorded as a beneficiary heiress of the Li family trust. In reality, there was not a single cent sitting in the trust account. Every bit of wealth would have to be earned by herself. Still, she now held the entry ticket. From her years of experience in society, Li Ming understood how the world worked. Without such a background, you could not even get your foot in the door of upper-class circles. Having heard the full explanation, Li Ming felt no moral qualms about pretending to be wealthy to harvest trust value. So what if she collected trust value from others? Everybody told small lies and exaggerated facts now and then. As long as she never stole money or harmed anyone, she saw nothing wrong with it. Now that the system had sorted out her identity, she needed to work out how to start earning trust value. Li Ming did not delude herself that the system would make her an instant business tycoon shaking up the corporate world. She did not even know what paperwork was required to register a company. All she wanted was to use the system, earned money to enjoy life, and live comfortably without working. Unlimited money and zero employment, that was the dream for an ordinary person like her. Thinking it over, the name, the dream, fulfilling God-tier wealth system fit perfectly. Achieving financial freedom through hard work, namely, pretending to be rich, that was exactly making a dream come true. Li Ming typed the final line into her phone memo, her mind racing as she sorted out her plans. Her biggest hurdle, her identity, had already been handled by the system. Her official records clearly listed her as grand, niece of American wealthy businessman Li Yuxing, beneficiary of a trust fund. Though her actual account balance was zero, anyone doing research would see a clean, impressive profile, wealthy, well-connected, from a notable family. Li Ming stared up at the ceiling and sighed. In her previous life, she could barely calculate credit, card installment interest. Now she had to play the part of someone receiving seven-figure trust fund dividends every month. Soon, however, excitement washed over her. She thought of two real-world precedents. The Pinduoduo socialites. Groups of young women pooled money to rent luxury cars, book five-star hotel rooms, and buy luxury goods purely to take photos for social media. In their pictures, they rode in fancy cars and draped themselves in luxury brands, yet in real life they lived in cramped 800 yuan partitioned apartments. Then there was Anna Delvey, the fake New York socialite. Inventing an identity as a European aristocrat heir, she charmed half of Manhattan's high society. Though she ended up behind bars, her story of talking her way into top-tier hotels was material Li Ming could study like a textbook. Those women didn't even have a fabricated official background, yet they pulled it off so well. Li Ming spoke to her own reflection on the phone screen. At least I have the system backing me up. She pulled her wallet out from under her pillow and counted every banknote. She then checked her bank card balance, 5,037.6 yuan in total. This was money she had scraped together during her final year of college. She had worked day shifts at a milk tea shop and taken online comment, spamming gigs at night, straining her fingers almost to the point of tendon inflammation. Her most valuable asset was her Shanghai household registration. But a household registration document could not pay her rent. She lived in a shabby small apartment. Rent was 2,000 yuan a month, paid 1 month's deposit plus 1 month's rent. Her lease would expire on the 26th. She only had 8 days remaining. Within 8 days, she had to earn her first points. She needed to rent a high-end residence and purchase proper high-quality outfits. She could hardly bring potential targets back to her run-down rental place while wearing mass-produced online store clothing. Li Ming sat bolt upright, opened her phone, and began doing research. She typed into the search bar, "Where do wealthy people in Shanghai spend their weekends?" Results poured in: IFC Mall, Plaza 66, The Bun Source, Peninsula Hotel Afternoon Tea. She browsed through reviews and finally settled on IFC Mall. Her reasoning was simple: luxury flagship stores, fine dining restaurants, and high-end supermarkets were all located in one complex. She could stay in one spot and encounter targets of varying social tiers. Moreover, IFC Mall was only 4 subway stops away from her current apartment, keeping transportation costs low. She spent 2 hours reading social media posts and lifestyle guides for the affluent, drafting a detailed scheduled plan in her memo. Her first stop would not be a Hermes boutique or high-end hotel afternoon tea, but a premium hair salon. Li Ming had her own logic. Sales associates at luxury boutiques were extremely observant. Dressed in a 600 yuan dress, she would be seen through at a single glance. Hair salon stylists, by contrast, focused primarily on their clients' hair. They interacted with wealthy clients every day and were skilled at reading people, yet they were prone to filling in gaps with their own imagination. Drop a few ambiguous hints and they would fill in your entire backstory all by themselves. Most importantly, her hair was in terrible condition. Her shoulder-length hair was thick enough, yet it was dry, frizzy, and full of split ends, as she had never used high-end hair care products. Many wealthy people might not be conventionally beautiful, yet they almost always had well-kept hair. Social media posts by rich lifestyle influencers constantly repeated the same points. Get scalp treatments 3 times every month. Only use Volmont and Kerastase. Li Ming envied those silky, smooth hairstyles. She found a highly rated salon. Haircuts started at 480 yuan, and treatment packages ranged from 1,880 to 6,880 yuan. Customer reviews repeatedly read, "Favorite salon among Shanghai's wealthy ladies. Leaving here feels like your social value has doubled." She ran the numbers in her head. A basic scalp treatment plus haircut would cost several thousand yuan. Her savings only totaled 5,000 yuan, yet she gritted her teeth and resolved to go. You have to spend money to make money. If she refused to invest in her appearance, she could not possibly pull off the wealthy person act. Li Ming dug a white dress out of her closet. She had bought it at a designer brand store for her graduation photos earlier that month. After discount, it had cost just over 600 yuan. It had good drape and clean tailoring, comparable to dresses selling for 2,000 to 3,000 yuan in shopping malls. She slipped it on and looked into the mirror. She applied light foundation and lipstick, skipping complicated eyeliner and eyeshadow, since she was not skilled at makeup. Standing at 168 centimeters tall, she was not slender, yet her figure was well proportioned with a narrow waist and long legs. The white dress lent her the aura of a young heiress. She twirled once in front of the mirror, then slung on a plain canvas bag with no visible brand logo. Wealthy people online often carried canvas bags. It was part of that casual luxury vibe. Before stepping out, she paused once more before the mirror and took a deep breath. Li Ming, she said to herself, you are wealthy now. You receive regular trust fund payouts. Today, you're just going out to get your hair done and unwind. She laughed at herself for a moment, then composed herself, opened the door, and stepped out into Shanghai's sweltering July heat. The subway car was not crowded. She sat in a corner, scrolling through customer reviews for the salon. One user named Maggie in Shanghai wrote, "My stylist really gets me. He gave me soft French style loose curls. My best friend said I looked exactly like a wealthy lady fresh back from vacation in the south of France. The post included 9 self-photos. In the pictures, the woman wore elaborate makeup, and Van Cleef Arpels 4-leaf clover earrings dangled from her earlobes. Li Ming tucked her phone back into her pocket. She had never been to the south of France, but once she earned enough points, she was absolutely going. 10:50 a.m. IFC Mall. She had seen countless photos of the mall's brands online. Hermès, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Cartier, Van Cleef Arpels, every famous luxury brand had a store here. Standing outside the mall she had never dared enter before, excitement stirred inside her. It was funny how fast psychology shifted. She had not earned a single point yet she already felt bold enough to walk in and splurge wildly. Li Ming grinned in excitement and stepped inside. She walked past countless well-known luxury boutiques, many with queues outside. The display windows were arranged like museum exhibits. Wanting to look around, she took the escalator up to the 3rd floor instead of the elevator. Everything dazzled her, and she felt the urge to buy everything. Evidently, poverty had suppressed her shopping impulses all along. The hair salon was at the end of the 3rd floor corridor. The storefront was modest, with a minimalist engraved English logo on black marble walls. When Li Ming walked in, a short-haired receptionist in a black uniform stood up immediately and smiled. "Welcome. Do you have an appointment?" Li Ming shook her head. "No, I'm dropping by spontaneously. I'd like a deep hair, scalp treatment." The receptionist nodded and gestured her inward. "Very well, please come this way. I'll assign teacher Tina to you. She is our top stylist for hair care treatments." Tina was a woman in her early 30s wearing a black face mask, speaking in a soft, gentle tone. She led Li Ming to a window-side seat. "Miss Li, I'll start with a scalp scan to assess your scalp condition." Tina moved the scanner over several spots on Li Ming's scalp and follicle status showed up on the screen. "Your scalp is in fairly good condition, just a little dehydrated. Perhaps from changes in environment." "That's right," Li Ming sighed at her own reflection in the mirror. "I've been extremely busy lately and haven't had time for proper hair care. I had a regular stylist back in New York, but I haven't found a suitable one since returning to China." She delivered the lie naturally, feeling no inner resistance. This was all part of earning money, after all. Out of the corner of her eye, Li Ming noticed Tina's expression shift subtly. The keywords New York and regular stylist planted the impression of affluence instantly. Sure enough, the system panel flickered. Ordinary, level target ×1, trust, value +1. Current points, 1. Tina chose her words carefully. "What grade of treatment would you like today?" "We have 3 deep treatment options. The basic caviar repair for 1,880 yuan, the intermediate platinum silk protein treatment for 3,680 yuan, and the premium black truffle anti-aging treatment for 4,880 yuan. This one contains precious black truffle extract and works wonderfully on severely damaged hair." She did not mention the most expensive 5,880 yuan option. It would be inappropriate to push the priciest service on a first-time guest, even if the guest seemed able to afford it. Li Ming calculated rapidly in her mind. Spending 4,880 yuan on the treatment would eat through nearly all of her 5,000 yuan savings. On the other hand, investment was required for returns. If she settled for the cheapest package, her whole wealthy person act would fall apart. Salon staff were her most accessible ordinary, level trust, value targets. Each person could give her 1 point, and 1 point translated to 10,000 yuan. In God, wealth, novel standards this was trivial, yet it was her startup capital, the first step to snowballing her fortune. "I'll take the black truffle one," Li Ming said, glancing casually at her phone. "How long will it take?" "I have another appointment at noon." "Approximately 1.5 hours, Tina replied. "Perfect." Li Ming set down her phone and leaned back in her chair, looking as relaxed as if she were lounging on her own sofa at home. At that moment, the system panel flickered again. Low, level target, trust value +1. Current points, 2. Sure enough, splurging on the high-end service had been the right call. Mid-way through the hair treatment, a new customer walked in. She was a woman in her 30s, dressed in a crisp white suit dress, with a Cartier Ballon Bleu watch on her wrist. Her voice was soft, yet carried an air of uncompromising decisiveness. Another stylist led her over to the seat next to Li Ming. Li Ming did not stare overtly. With a quick glance out of the corner of her eye, taking in the woman's attire and tone of speech, She judged her to be a mid-level corporate manager. Per the system's classification standards, she qualified as at least a mid-tier target middle class. Her heart beat a little faster. If she could plant a seed of trust in this woman too, that would earn her a starting bonus of 10 points. Still, she stayed cautious. Forcing conversation would feel contrived and arouse suspicion. She needed to wait for a natural opening. Tina rinsed the hair treatment cream from Li Meng's hair, wrapped her hair in hot towels, and told her to rest for a while. Li Meng leaned back with her eyes closed, yet kept her ears tuned to what was going on beside her. The woman was chatting with her stylist. I went to Hong Kong last week. It was exhausting. Everyone in Central walks like they're racing against the clock. My husband told me to take a few extra days off and set aside work matters, but I simply couldn't bring myself to do it. The stylist laughed in agreement. Mrs. Zhang, you work so hard. Truly, capable people always bear more responsibilities. Li Meng did not cut in. Casually, she turned over and picked up her phone. She angled the screen so the woman beside her could not see it and sent a voice message in English. Her voice was quiet, but loud enough for the other woman to hear. Her English was fluent. It was her old trade. For years as an English major, plus 2 years working in e-commerce with constant overseas client communication had polished her spoken English to a high standard. She improvised the voice message on the spot. It mentioned landing at Pudong Airport, trust fund payments having cleared, and thanked her grandfather for her allowance. She leaned on the trust fund detail to reinforce her fake persona as a wealthy young heiress. Mrs. Zhang fell silent for a split second. The two nearby stylists also shot Li Meng discreet glances. Li Meng knew her carefully crafted act had registered with Mrs. Zhang. Sure enough, the system panel flickered once more. Low level target times 2, trust value plus 2. Current points, 4. Mid-tier target times 1, trust value plus 10. Current points, 14 points, the equivalent of 140,000 yuan within reach. Li Meng almost failed to hold back a laugh. She quickly buried her face in the hot towel covering her hair. In less than 2 hours, she had earned an exchangeable credit equivalent to 140,000 yuan. Even though she could not convert it into real cash just yet, the rate far exceeded her expectations. For the rest of the treatment, she did not put on any more deliberate performances. She knew well enough when enough was enough. After an hour and a half of enjoying the treatment with her eyes shut, Li Meng studied her reflection in the mirror. The results were striking. Her formerly dry, straw-like hair now flowed like smooth, lustrous black satin. What surprised her most was the volume at her roots. Tina had used a blow-drying technique Li Meng had never heard of, lifting her crown by almost 2 centimeters and softening her facial features in the mirror. Li Meng finished paying and stepped out of the hair salon. She checked the time, 12:45. 15 minutes remained before her reservation for the lunch set at Sanzan Inn, leaving plenty of time for a slow walkover. Sanzan Inn was the Japanese restaurant on the 4th floor of the International Finance Center. Its lunch set cost 1,580 yuan per person. She had researched and booked the restaurant beforehand. Pushing open its dark brown wooden entrance door, she was greeted by a hostess with a sweet voice. Good afternoon. Do you have a reservation? Yes, under the name Li, for one guest. The hostess flipped through the reservation book, found Li Meng's booking, and gestured for her to follow. This way, Miss Li. Li Meng followed her down a long corridor across polished bamboo flooring. Transparent washi paper screens lined both sides, through which she could faintly make out the silhouettes of other diners. She was seated by the window. Outside stretched the Huangpu River. Cargo vessels glided slowly across the water, and the old colonial buildings along the bund across the river glinted like golden building blocks under the midday sun. A menu was placed before her. She opened it. The lunch set was priced at 1,580 yuan, drinks excluded. That was roughly what she had spent on meals over 2 weeks in her past life. I'll have the lunch set. As for drinks, what would you recommend? The hostess bowed slightly. Today's recommendation is shizu cha from Shizuoka. If you would prefer something lighter, we can prepare a complimentary yuzu sparkling water. Yuzu sparkling water, please. Thank you. Li Meng closed the menu, paused, and added in a natural tone, by the way, do you have a private sake list? Family members told me some Japanese restaurants in Shanghai keep fine private sake collections, and I'd like to take a look. These lines were all carefully researched affectations she had looked up online, perfect for projecting a polished persona. The hostess looked momentarily taken aback. Guests ordering the lunch set rarely asked for private sake lists. Lunch was meant for casual meals, and sake was mostly reserved for dinner service. Still, the young woman asked with such ease, as if this were second nature to her. "We do. I will fetch the sake list for you." The hostess turned to retrieve it, walking a little faster than before. Li Ming leaned back in her chair, gazing out the floor, to ceiling window toward the river, a faint smile playing on her lips. The system panel flickered. Low level target ×1 hostess, trust value +1. Current points, 15. 150,000 yuan worth of points. She had accumulated exchangeable credit for 150,000 yuan before she had even finished her lunch. Li Ming picked up her glass of yuzu's sparkling water and sipped it slowly. Her eyes shone with anticipation for this better life. It was her very first time dining at the IFC, at such an expensive Japanese restaurant no less. Sanzanin's lunch set arrived course by course. Each dish was plated like a miniature garden. She savored every bite, conscious of the value of money, though the food itself genuinely tasted wonderful with exceptionally fresh ingredients. The hostess had brought over the sake list. Li Ming flipped through it, but ultimately declined to order. Ordering an expensive bottle of sake in broad daylight would be overdoing it. Her persona was a newly acknowledged family member, still growing accustomed to wealth, not an heiress raised from childhood to appreciate fine liquor. She needed to keep her act believable. She closed the sake list and smiled at the hostess. "I'll pass for now. Drinking sake in the middle of the day feels odd. I'll bring friends for dinner next time and open a bottle then." The hostess bowed, her smile warmer. Miss Li spoke with genuine candor, unlike other guests who strained to show off wealth and put on grand airs just to order alcohol. Low level target ×1, deepened trust +1. Current points, 16. Halfway through the meal, a man and a woman were seated at the adjacent table. The man was in his 40s or 50s, balding on top, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. Li Ming could not identify the brand of his watch, but its densely featured dial clearly marked it as a luxury piece. The woman was in her early 20s, dressed in pale yellow silk with soft makeup. She sat quietly and rarely spoke. Li Ming stole a glance and silently assessed them. The man was wealthy, qualifying at least as a high-tier target. The woman was harder to judge. She might be an assistant, and her target rank was unknown. After sitting down, the man flipped through the menu for 2 minutes and addressed the server. "Do you have sea urchin today?" The server's manner grew even more deferential. "Yes, sir. Fresh Hokkaido baffin. Uni arrived this morning. Shall we prepare a serving for you? Bring 2 portions." The man's tone was flat. His phone rang. He answered it, keeping his voice low yet sounding plainly irritated. "I told you the project is not urgent. We will discuss it when I get back. Yes, I'm having lunch." Once he hung up, the young woman beside him asked softly, "Mr. Li, is that about the Shenzhen project?" Just subordinates failing to think things through. He waved a hand, clearly unwilling to discuss the matter further. Hearing the title, Mr. Li, Li Ming's heart lifted. A company director almost certainly qualified as a high-tier target. For a high-tier target, 100 points translated to 1 million yuan. Even the slightest shift toward trust would grant her a base reward of 100 points. Yet she knew better. Approaching a man of his status in this setting would be reckless. She could not take the initiative. She had to wait. Chance came unexpectedly. A server carrying a small plate of pickled vegetables accidentally brushed against Li Ming's phone sitting on the edge of the table. It slid toward the floor, but Li Ming caught it in a quick reflex. "I'm so sorry. So sorry." The server paled with alarm. "It's fine, no harm done." Li Ming waved it off with a smile, no trace of blame in her tone. "It's just a phone, not some priceless antique." The server relaxed, thanked her, and stepped away. As she set her phone back on the table, Li Ming remarked casually, "I've only had this one for half a month. I'm already tired of it. Might as well get a new one." Her voice was moderate, loud enough for the neighboring table to hear. Mr. Li caught the comment. His gaze drifted briefly toward Li Ming for less than a second. Dining alone at such a pricey lunch service, and speaking of replacing a phone after half a month as casually as buying a drink. Was this a new generation rich kid who simply cared nothing for money? He shook his head inwardly. Li Ming did not turn her head. She kept eating, yet she knew that brief glance had earned her reward. High tier target ×1, trust value +100. Current points, 116. 116 points. Li Ming nearly choked on her rice. She lifted her teacup and pretended to drink, suppressing her surge of excitement. Hi, tier targets truly were on another level. A single ambiguous comment and one fleeting glance had netted her 100 points. For the next dozen minutes, she did not glance toward Mr. Li's table at all, focusing entirely on her meal. Occasionally, she snapped a few photos, looking perfectly content dining by herself. When she finished her final fruit course, she waved for the server to bring the bill. That will be 980 yuan in total, miss. The server held out the POS terminal. Li Ming pulled out her phone and quickly converted points to withdraw 10,000 yuan to settle the payment. She stood up, slung her canvas bag over her shoulder, and walked toward the exit. As she passed Mr. Li's table, he happened to look up. Their eyes met for the briefest instant. Li Ming gave a small nod with a polite smile and kept walking without pausing. She said nothing at all. But that quiet, courteous gesture from an apparent wealthy heiress left another impression on him. Hi, tier target ×1, deepen trust plus 100. Current points, 216 outside Sanzanin. Li Ming kept walking until she rounded a corner at the end of the connecting corridor. Once certain nobody was nearby, she leaned against the wall and let out a long breath. 216 points, equal to 2,160,000 yuan. Targeting high status individuals certainly brought massive rewards. Still, there were risks. Today she had been lucky that this man had so readily bought into her performance. Not every high-tier target would be so easy to sway. Controlling every little shift in her gaze and body language felt like performing as a professional actor. Li Ming thought over her current 216 points. Should she try a system draw? The draw pool on her system panel glowed faint gold. Silver pool, 50 points per draw. Potential rewards, cash, doubling cards, premium fine jewelry, and more. Gold pool, 100 points per draw. Potential rewards, personal connection clue cards, temporary venue access privileges, and more diamond pool, 200 points per draw. Potential rewards, key figure introduction cards, permanent venue access privileges, and more. She was curious what prizes lay within. Silver pool rewards such as clothing and jewelry could be bought with converted cash, so they did not excite her much for now. Cash was not her most urgent need. She could buy most material goods by converting points, though that took time. The draw pools offered shortcuts. The diamond pool held the most tempting rewards: high status, identity props, key figure introduction cards, permanent venue access privileges. Each could serve as leverage to earn massive points further down the line. One draw cost 200 points, which would leave her only 16 points remaining. The gold pool cost 100 points per draw as well. A useless draw would waste a large chunk of what she had worked so hard to accumulate. She stood in the connecting corridor and hesitated for 3 full minutes. In the end, she made her decision. She would hold off and save up for at least 500 points before attempting any draws. She was still getting started. Stability mattered more than speed. She already had her afternoon planned. She would browse boutiques inside the IFC. She would skip top-tier luxury houses such as Hermès or Chanel for now. 2 million sounded substantial, yet it vanished quickly at stores selling items priced in tens of thousands. Her priority remained earning more points. She would visit 1 or 2 light, luxury and designer, brand boutiques, try on clothing, and chat with sales assistants. Playing her persona of a newly wealthy young woman, she could casually mention, "My family recently gave me some funds, and I'm learning how to manage them," or "I've never worn styles like this before, and I'm finding them quite interesting." Sales staff would naturally fill in the rest of the story in their heads. Sales assistants at these mid-range boutiques were also easier to earn trust, value from than elite, luxury boutique staff. Li Ming took the escalator down to the basement level. Scanning the storefronts, she settled on an Italian designer boutique. It was a modest-sized shop. In the window hung a pale beige blazer with clean tailoring, priced at over 4,000 yuan. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. Only one female sales associate was on duty, dressed in a black work uniform. Her eyes swept over Li Ming on arrival. Her dress bore no visible designer logo, and she carried a canvas bag, giving her the appearance of an ordinary tourist. The associate showed no visible change in expression, greeting her with a smile. "Welcome. Feel free to look around. You may try anything you like." Li Ming smiled back and walked straight to the pale beige blazer. She ran her fingers over its fabric. "It is linen, blend, very breathable for summer, the associate explained. The silhouette is designed in Italy, with narrow shoulder lines, ideal for women with slighter shoulders. Li Ming lifted the blazer and held it up against herself in front of the mirror. 4,000 yuan for a thin jacket was something she would never have dared consider in her old life. "I'd like to try it on," she said. The associate fetched a fresh sample and led her to the fitting room. Inside the fitting room stall, Li Ming slipped on the blazer and studied herself in the mirror. The pale beige shade flattered her complexion, and the cut was excellent. The tailored shoulder lines sharpened her silhouette instantly. Still, she did not step out right away. Sitting on the small stool inside the fitting room, she opened her system panel with a thought and converted 1 point into 10,000 yuan of real cash. The transaction completed instantly. A bank account alert text message popped up on her phone. Notification: 10,000 renminbi deposited into your account at 13:47 on July 2nd. Current balance: 24,582 renminbi and 37 cents. She pushed open the fitting room door and walked back out. Now that her funds were ready, it was time for her performance. "How does it look?" the associate asked eagerly. Li Ming turned left and right before the full-length mirror. Her expression was appreciative yet tinged with genuine hesitation. "It looks good, but I have never worn styles like this before. I'm not completely sure whether it suits me." The associate paused, then smiled. "It suits you wonderfully. Is this your first time trying this aesthetic?" "Yes." Li Ming stroked the cuff lightly, her voice softening. "I rarely got the chance to buy clothing of this standard before. Recently, things have changed for my family, and I am adjusting step by step." The associate's smile turned more sincere. She met many customers who tried on dozens of pieces without buying anything. This young woman was different. When she alluded to changes within her family, she spoke with quiet honesty, stirring no sense of resentment or pretense. "You ought to get it," the associate encouraged her. "Shopping is about making yourself happy, and this piece really flatters you." Li Ming studied her reflection a little longer, then nodded. "I will take this one. Could you show me some trousers that would go well with it?" The associate's face lit up. "Absolutely. We have matching wide-leg trousers from the same collection you can try." Over the next 40 minutes, Li Ming tried on 4 or 5 outfits. She examined herself carefully in the mirror after each change, asked for the associate's opinions, and tossed out casual remarks such as, "Would this be too formal for office wear?" or "Is that one too casual for events?" Every line subtly fleshed out the persona she was portraying. In the end, she selected 4 items: the linen blazer, white wide-leg trousers, a mulberry silk blouse, and a pale beige dress. The total came to just over 16,000 yuan. The associate's mood was bright as she processed the payment. She had not expected such a large purchase from a customer who had looked like a casual visitor arriving just after lunch. That contrast deepened her impression of Li Ming. As she packed the garments into shopping bags, she struck up small talk. "Miss Li, do you often come to the IFC?" "I've only started visiting recently," Li Ming smiled. "I expect I will be coming more often. It's convenient for dining and shopping." Carrying her shopping bags, Li Ming walked out of the boutique. A short distance away, her system panel flickered. Low-level target ×3, trust value +6 sales associate, passing shoppers. Current points, 222. Points poured in not only from the sales associate, but also from other shoppers who had observed her inside the store. Compared to the massive point gains from earlier that day, these increments were modest. Still, earning points equivalent to 60,000 yuan in a little more than an hour was highly rewarding. These small steady gains would cover most of her day-to-day spending. By 4:30 in the afternoon, the harsh midday sun had faded. Li Ming walked out of the IFC building with her shopping bags in hand. Standing on the outer steps, her phone vibrated with an incoming text message. "Hello, Miss Li. This is Tina from Lausanne. Would you mind adding me on WeChat? You can book hair treatments directly through me in future." Li Ming smiled and accepted the friend request. In merely half a day, she had built trust-based connections with 4 low-level targets around the IFC. Every time these people saw her, conversed with her, or witnessed her spending, further impressions would form, potentially generating new points. These represented a steady stream of future income. Back in the old-style apartment, it was already past 6 in the evening. Li Ming set the 3 shopping bags down on the small sofa and threw herself onto the bed. The flat was tiny, just 1 bedroom, costing 2,000 yuan a month. It was the most she could afford in Shanghai. The window faced the wall of the building opposite, so natural light was poor, yet the place was clean. She lay there for a few seconds, then sat up and glanced at the shopping bags on the sofa. Neatly folded clothes filled the bags, utterly out of place in this cramped old flat. Even these few purchases already made the space feel crowded. She would keep going to IFC, and she would buy more clothes. But this apartment did not even have a decent wardrobe. Li Meng looked around. There was a bed, a small sofa, a folding dining table, and a simple fabric wardrobe. This had been the best place she could find right after graduation, cheap and centrally located. Things were different now, though. On paper, she was wealthy, receiving a monthly living allowance of $150,000 from a trust fund. To sustain this identity, she needed living quarters that matched her supposed status. If anyone found out where she lived, all her carefully built pretense would collapse in an instant. Besides, living in a large luxury home had long been her dream. Her phone still held saved videos of high-end Shanghai mansions. What had once been mere fantasy was now within reach. Li Meng opened her phone and started searching for high-end rental properties in Shanghai. Huangpu District, large flat, view of the 3 iconic skyscrapers, no less than 200 square meters. The search results loaded, all with monthly rents well over 10,000 yuan. Sunak Bund, a 300 square meter large flat, 4 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, 4 bathrooms, 90,000 yuan per month. Greentown Huangpu Bay, 300 square meters, 70,000 yuan per month. Heipo Bund Phase 2 in Dongjiadu, 292 square meters, 4+1 bedroom layout, 80,000 yuan per month. Shangdao Jipan in Lujiazui, 303 square meter, 3 bedroom flat, 80,000 yuan per month. Monthly rents ranged from 70 to 90,000 yuan. In her past life, these numbers would have been unimaginable. Her entire annual salary would not have covered 3 months' rent. But everything was different now. Li Meng quickly did the maths. She had 221 points. After deducting what she had already spent, converting the rest into cash would net her 2.21 million yuan. Even at 100,000 yuan a month, totaling 1.2 million yuan a year, she could easily afford it. What was more, as she continued visiting IFC, buying luxury goods and meeting people from higher social strata, her points would keep growing. Rent was trivial compared to the points she could earn. She opened a rental app and carefully studied her target residential complexes. Greentown Huangpu Bay appealed to her most. Situated in the core Bund Financial District, its main units spanned 276 to 610 square meters. She recalled reading news about a wealthy businessman whose property there had gone to auction for over 100 million yuan. The pictures had captivated her back then. It was her dream home. Li Meng scrolled repeatedly through photos of the complex. Floor-to-ceiling windows, river views, spacious living rooms, walk-in dressing rooms, bathrooms with separated wet and dry zones, smart home systems. None of these existed in her current old apartment. She kept returning to photos of the living rooms. Massive floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Huangpu River, framing the Oriental Pearl Tower, Jinmao Tower, and the Shanghai Tower. At night, sitting in the living room, she would have the full sweeping view of Lujiazui's glittering skyline. She pictured the scene, dressed in a Chanel dress, seated on a sofa before the floor-to-ceiling windows, holding a glass of red wine, with Shanghai's most dazzling nightscape spread out beyond the glass. That image itself would serve as perfect proof of her supposed social standing. More importantly, this large flat would function like a point-generating machine. Once she moved in, property butlers, neighbors, and guests would all grow more convinced of her wealthy persona. Every impression deepened would bring her more points. Li Meng made up her mind. She would go view properties tomorrow. She messaged a real estate agent specializing in high-end rentals and booked a viewing of Greentown Huangpu Bay for 9:30 the next morning. After sending the message, she set down her phone and glanced once more at her tiny old flat. She would soon be leaving this place behind. She got up at 8 o'clock the next morning. She put on the light, luxury dress she had bought the day before, applied subtle makeup, and slung her canvas bag over her shoulder. She could not dress too casually for a viewing of a mansion renting at 70 to 80,000 yuan a month. Li Meng arrived at the meeting spot in a pre-booked luxury sedan. The agent, Mr. Wang, in his mid-30s and dressed in a dark navy suit, hurried over the moment he saw her step out of the car. His gaze lingered for a moment. A young woman viewing a 300 square meter flat alone. Her clothing bore no obvious logos, yet she carried herself with calm poise. "Miss Lee, good morning. I am Wang Hao from Pacific Homes," the agent said, extending his hand with a polished smile. "I will show you around today." Li Meng nodded. "Thank you for your trouble." On the way, the agent gave a brief introduction to the complex. It has an in-house premium property management team offering butler-style service. The residents are mostly high-caliber individuals. When they walked through the main gate, Li Meng's eyes lit up. The entrance lobby had an impressively high ceiling with polished marble floors. Two uniformed property staff sat at the front desk and nodded politely as the agent escorted the visitor past. The lift offered private entry. Access was granted only by swiping a key card for the designated floor. Once the agent swiped his card, the lift doors opened directly onto a private entrance hall. This unit is 300 square meters for bedrooms, 2 living rooms for bathrooms. It was owner-occupied and fitted with a full smart home setup, the agent explained as he led her inside. The living room faces east and south, dual-aspect lighting with direct views of the Huangpu River and the 3 iconic towers. Li Meng paused when she stepped into the living room. Enormous floor-to-ceiling windows stretched from ceiling to floor, opening onto a panoramic vista of the Huangpu River. Cargo ships glided slowly across the water. Across the river, the 3 Lujiazui skyscrapers glinted gold in the morning light, lined up as if arranged especially for that window. The living room itself felt staggeringly large. It spanned at least 70 to 80 square meters, furnished with an off-white L-shaped sofa, a marble coffee table, and a designer armchair. Light, toned wooden flooring ran beneath abstract paintings hung on the walls. Grays, whites, and cream tones gave the space a clean, refined feel. "The living room boasts an extensive width," the agent commented. "This orientation brings wonderful daylight, and the night view is even more spectacular." The previous owner lived here personally and invested around 8 million yuan on renovations. All furniture and home appliances are imported. There were dual Chinese and Western kitchen set-ups. The Chinese kitchen sat as a separate enclosed room, while the open-plan Western kitchen featured a large island counter fitted with a full set of Miele appliances. Li Meng walked slowly across the living room, her fingers brushing lightly over the sofa back. She then entered the master bedroom, which also featured large floor-to-ceiling windows framing the river view. Waking each morning to that sight was something she had only ever seen in television dramas. Attached to the master bedroom was a walk-in dressing room of roughly a dozen square meters. Floor-to-ceiling wardrobes lined 2 walls, with a central island unit. This dressing room was custom-built for the former owner, the agent said. Storage capacity is abundant, more than enough if you own a large wardrobe. Li Meng silently agreed in her mind. More than enough. Her current collection of clothes would barely fill a single cabinet. That would change soon, though. Further inside lay the master bathroom, fitted with both bathtub and shower stall, with separated wet and dry zones. A dedicated vanity area had been built in. The bathroom alone was bigger than her old one-room rental. She inspected the other 3 rooms, a secondary bedroom, a study, and a guest room. Each was an en-suite with its own bathroom and large floor-to-ceiling windows delivering excellent natural light. After touring the whole flat, Li Meng knew without doubt that this was exactly what she wanted. "What is the monthly rent?" she asked. 90,000 yuan, property fees included, the agent replied. The owner is keen to rent it out. A small discount is possible for a long-term lease. 90,000 yuan each month. Li Meng maintained a neutral expression and nodded. "I will take this one. Can we finalize it today?" The agent was taken aback. Clients viewing properties of this standard usually hesitated for days, compared multiple options, and brought family members for second viewings. This young woman, viewing alone, wanted to sign on the spot with remarkable decisiveness. Certainly, the agent quickly recovered. "The owner is ready to sign at any time. If you are set on it, I can arrange a meeting right away." "I am set," Li Meng confirmed. They left the real estate agency at 10:30 in the morning. Contracts were drawn up. 2 months deposit plus 3 months rent was required. She paid 450,000 yuan up front, plus agency commission equal to half a month's rent, 45,000 yuan. She instantly converted 50 points into 500,000 yuan to cover the costs. Stepping out onto the street, bright sunlight fell across her face. She squinted, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. She was only renting for now, yet judging by how quickly she accumulated funds, buying her very own home in this city was well within sight. Although the apartment was move-in ready, she wanted to book a thorough deep clean for peace of mind. She opened her phone, compared options online, and placed an order with a highly rated premium cleaning service, scheduling them for that afternoon. The convenience of building butler service became obvious at this point. She couldn't trust the butler to let the cleaning crew in, so she would not need to attend in person. Once the cleaning was finished, she could move in the next day. She owned very few belongings at her current place, just some casual clothing and skincare items. She decided not to bring any of them, preferring to buy everything new and skip the hassle of moving. She opened her system panel. Current points stood at 170. During the viewing, the agent's trust in her had deepened twice. First, when he saw a young woman inspecting a 300-square-meter mansion alone, and second, when she agreed to rent without delay. Each instance earned 1 point. Additional points came from property staff, front desk attendants, and security guards she had passed. She had spent 50 points converted into cash for rent, yet gained 4 points throughout the viewing. Low-level targets ×4. Trust value +5. Current points, 175. Looking at the panel, Li Ming decided to keep 50 points in reserve for future draws and convert the remaining 125 points into cash. The thought had struck her during the viewing. Many luxury property viewings required proof of assets. Today she was only renting, so no check had been needed, but she might face that requirement later. Money sitting in her bank account felt far more secure than points existing merely as numbers on a system interface. If the system vanished one day, points would leave her with nothing. Current points, 50. 10:50 a.m. XX Bank. 1,240,000 yuan received. Account balance, 1,268,610 yuan. Li Ming counted the digits on the bank app notification. Small previous withdrawals had felt unremarkable, but receiving over 1 million yuan in one go brought an intoxicating thrill. Lunchtime had arrived, so she treated herself, though she had not yet decided where to eat. Back when money had been tight, the most expensive meals she knew of cost around 200 yuan. Most of her dining had been simple, affordable options. She had never researched high-end venues because she could not afford them. Now wealthy, she struggled to choose suitable places to dine. Class-driven gaps in knowledge could feel frustrating. She searched online for high-end establishments. Fine dining restaurants could be researched easily, yet many exclusive venues remained unknown to ordinary people. Though she possessed wealth and would accumulate more, her awareness and experience still resembled that of someone newly rich. She feared spending large sums only to receive second-rate goods or services that wealthier patrons rejected. She had no great ambition, yet she refused to waste money on inferior offerings. She needed someone to guide her. Finding such a guide would not be easy. Such people tended to be shrewd, and genuine rapport would be essential. Still, there was no urgent rush. She needed more than a guide. Her new home required a suitable housekeeper and a full-time driver, basic essentials for someone living a wealthy lifestyle. She would need to purchase a car for the driver. Buying a vehicle was another task. She also had to source daily necessities for the apartment, toiletries, bed linen, and other essentials. The car could wait. Ride-hailing services would suffice for the time being. She hoped to sort out the rest that afternoon. With a full afternoon ahead of her, she took a taxi to a restaurant she had saved long ago but never dared visit. The set menu cost 268 yuan per person. Since it was still early for peak dining hours, food arrived quickly and tasted excellent. One of Shanghai's strengths was its diversity. Extravagant consumption was available, yet countless delicious affordable eateries existed too, catering to every income bracket. After lunch, Li Ming compiled a shopping list on her phone. Though the luxury flat came fully furnished with sofas, coffee tables, dining furniture, refrigerators, and washing machines, she needed to buy bed linen. She also planned decorative items, rugs, green plants, artworks, elegant tableware, and crockery. Those small finishing touches would turn a furnished flat into a real home. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Xintiandi, the sun blazing hot. Few visitors wandered the Shikumen-style district. She passed a high-end home goods boutique named Art of Residence. She pushed open the door. Cool air washed over her, carrying a subtle wood-based aroma. A shop assistant in a white linen shirt approached. In her 30s, she spoke at a measured pace. "Welcome. Feel free to browse." We stock premium European bed linen brands including Fret, Yves Saint Laurent, and Sfera, many in stock, alongside designer collaborations. Li Ming's gaze traveled from the shop window displays across the interior. On a display counter to her left lay a set of cream-colored Fret bed linen, its fabric glowing softly under spotlights. Is that Fret? Li Ming had only recently learned about luxury textile brands to recognize them. Yes, this is Fret's Giza collection, woven from Egyptian Giza cotton with a 400 thread count. This classic range features in many of the world's top-tier hotels, the assistant explained gently. Li Ming flipped over the price tag. The 4-piece set, duvet cover, sheet, and 2 pillowcases, cost 23,000 yuan. She checked the price of duvets and pillows. A winter-weight white goose down duvet was priced at 12,000 yuan. 2 pillow options were available, softer down pillows at 8,000 yuan each, and firmer memory foam pillows around 7,000 yuan each. I will take this Fret set, Li Ming said. 2 duvets and 4 of the softer down pillows. 1 set for myself and 1 for the guest room. The assistant's eyes brightened and prepared to take notes, until Li Ming pointed toward another display. What brand is that Miss Blue set? Its texture differed from Fret, with fine geometric woven patterns shimmering subtly under the light, understated yet luxuriant. Yves Saint Laurent, a French label, the assistant hurried over. It blends Egyptian cotton with silk. So this was known as the Patek Philippe of textiles. Li Ming ran her hand across it. Smoother than Fret, it held the cool touch of silk without being overly thin. I will take that one as well, she said. Before the assistant could respond, Li Ming walked toward displays at the back of the shop. A pale champagne-colored bed linen set caught her eye, woven with ultrafine silver threads that glinted delicately under lighting. Is that Sfera? Li Ming asked. Indeed. An Italian brand. This one features long staple cotton with silver thread embroidery. The assistant quickened her steps, barely concealing her eagerness. This is this year's limited edition. Only 3 sets arrived in our store. Li Ming glanced at its price tag, 38,000 yuan, more expensive than the previous 2 sets. She hesitated not at all. I will take this one too. Do you carry summerweight or silk duvets? We do. We have an imported long fiber mulberry silk lightweight duvet. The assistant fetched a neatly folded milky white duvet, incredibly light. Made in Italy, filled with long strand mulberry silk. Extremely breathable. Li Ming touched it. It felt as light as a cloud. Its price stood at 11,000 yuan. I will take one. Please also show me towels. I need bath towels and face towels. The assistant's excitement was palpable. Bed linen and duvets alone totaled well over 100,000 yuan, and now towels were added. The customer barely glanced at price tags before deciding to purchase. She led Li Ming over to the towel section and recommended an Egyptian long cotton bath towel, thick and soft. Li Ming ordered 3 of each item. When it came time to pay, the total hit 131,000 yuan. Even the shop assistant found the number hard to believe. In just half an hour since Li Ming walked in, she had racked up over 100,000 yuan in sales. Li Ming's expression remained unchanged. She pulled out her phone and settled the bill swiftly. A bank SMS pinged. She glanced at it. Her balance had dropped from 1.26 million to 1.13 million yuan. Still, she had gained something. She had extracted some benefit from the shop assistant. Primary level target times 1. Trust value plus 3. Current points, 53. As Li Ming checked out, a couple in their 30s happened to be in the store. The woman held a set of Yves Saint Laurent pillowcases, hesitating over the purchase. The pair cost 2,800 yuan, which she thought was expensive. She had been holding them for nearly 10 minutes. She and her husband had only wandered in for a casual look. Yet they had witnessed Li Ming's entire shopping spree. Li Ming had spent over 100,000 yuan without a second thought, barely glancing at price tags. Meanwhile, the woman could not bring herself to buy a 2,800 yuan set of pillowcases. Comparing people could truly be disheartening. The woman sighed, gently set the pillowcases back down, and whispered to her husband, "Forget it. I'll buy them online. Intermediate level target times 2, trust value plus 20. Current points, 73. Li Ming knew nothing of the couple's thoughts. She only felt joy watching her points update. This 130,000 yuan shopping run had fully furnished her new home's bedding and earned her an extra 10 points. Collecting herself, she arranged with the shop assistant for morning delivery the next day and moved on to the next store. Afternoon sunlight filtered through plane tree leaves, scattering golden dapples across the tile pavement. She paused in front of Carpet Tales, a designer carpet shop. The owner, a man in his 40s wearing round-frame glasses, was rolling up samples when Li Meng entered. He lifted his head at the shop door chime. "Feel free to look around," the owner set down his sample roll. "All our carpets are handmade. We stock pieces from Nepal, India, and Turkey." Li Meng's gaze drifted toward the living room carpet display. She picked out an off-white hand-woven wool carpet with extremely faint geometric patterns. The designs were barely visible from afar, revealing layered texture only up close. "This one is hand-knotted in Nepal, blended wool and silk," the owner stepped over. "It measures 2 meters by 3 meters. The feel is wonderful, and this pale gray works with almost any interior style." "How much natural light does your living room get?" "It faces east and south, floor-to-ceiling windows on both sides." "Plenty of light. Then this one is perfect. No harsh reflections, and it keeps the space feeling clean." Li Meng stepped onto it to test. It struck a balanced, soft, firm tone, and she could feel the warmth of the wool even through her shoes. The price tag read 32,000 yuan. "I'll take it," Li Meng said. "Deliver it tomorrow." The owner's pen paused mid-note-taking. He glanced up at her. At 32,000 yuan, this carpet was not the shop's most expensive, yet it was far from cheap. Most customers visited 2 or more times, bringing designers or family members before committing. This customer had made up her mind in under 10 minutes. Intermediate level target ×1, trust value +10. Current points, 83. Li Meng was a little surprised herself that the shop owner qualified as an intermediate level target. Evidently, this was another wealthy person running a business out of passion. Leaving the carpet shop, Li Meng turned into Between, a home goods boutique. The store was small but tastefully arranged: wooden trays, hand-thrown ceramic mugs, brass candlesticks, glass vases. Every piece bore a designer's thoughtful touch. First, she selected a set of 4 drinking glasses. Their walls were ultra-thin, marked with tiny hand-blown air bubbles that sparkled like crushed diamonds under light. Li Meng then walked to a glass counter and studied the tableware inside. In the 2 decades of her previous life, she had used supermarket mugs costing a little over 10 yuan apiece, or IKEA bowls and plates for 29.9 yuan a set. Whenever she visited friends' homes and saw their neat, beautiful tableware cabinets, quiet envy stirred inside her. Though she never spoke of it. She bent down to examine a set of Japanese handcrafted tableware. Glossy white glaze, edged with faint, irregular, deep blue decorative glazes. The shop assistant explained, "This is a limited-run line from a workshop in Gifu Prefecture, Japan. Only a few hundred pieces are made each year. Every item is hand-thrown and hand-glazed." Li Meng picked up a small bowl and flipped it over to see the artisan's handwritten signature stamped on the base. She pictured this tableware laid out on the island counter in her Haipo-bun apartment, congee for breakfast, side dishes for dinner. She could finally live a refined life. Such thoughts had never crossed her mind before. She had not even owned a proper dining table. "I'll take this set," she said. "For bowls, for plates, plus 4 matching cups." She next chose a set of off-white rough stoneware coffee mugs with smooth, warm glaze, the rim curved comfortably against the lips. She added 2 deep serving bowls and 1 long wooden tray for pizza or fried food. Then came decor: 3 brass candlesticks of graduated heights to line her sideboard. An irregular matte gray-blue ceramic vase whose glaze shifted tone in natural light. A black oval marble tray to hold keys in her entryway. The 20-something-year-old male shop assistant followed close behind, gathering her selections. By the time she finished, his arms held 7 or 8 items, which he stacked neatly on the checkout counter. Her final bill came to 12,000 yuan. Without her new wealth, she would never have dared walk into such a deceptively pricey boutique. These design-focused shops charged no less than mall retailers. Near the register stood a young woman in a floral dress, seemingly a tourist. She turned a palm-sized ceramic dish over repeatedly, then spotted the price tag, 860 yuan. She drew a soft breath, mentally remarking on Shanghai's steep price levels, and gently set the dish back. She turned and saw Li Meng's large pile of purchases, then watched Li Meng pay with a blank expression. Shock showed plainly on her face. Were people in Shanghai all this wealthy? Primary level target ×1, trust value +1. Current points, 84. Since her purchases were numerous, Li Meng once again scheduled home delivery. Li Meng's last stop was the well-known flower shop Among Blossoms, specializing in imported blooms and large-size green plants. In the window stood a 2-meter-high fiddle-leaf fig with broad glossy leaves planted in a cement-gray ceramic pot, just like something out of a home decor magazine. Li Ming pushed open the door. Damp soil and fresh plant scent washed over her. Two young women in aprons trimmed white lysianthus. "Hello, what are you looking for?" One of them smiled and asked, lifting her head. Li Ming toured the shop. Beside the fiddle-leaf fig grew a monstera whose leaves were broader than human faces, dark green and shiny. "I'll take that large fiddle-leaf fig, and that monstera too," she pointed. They would suit her living room perfectly. "Please pick 4 smaller ones for cabinets and desks." "What kinds do you prefer for the small plants?" the shop assistant asked. "Recommend whatever looks nice and is easy to keep alive." The shop assistant chose 2 trailing pothos, 1 spathiphyllum and 1 sansevieria. She also selected 3 pots of varying color and texture. Total for 5 plants plus 3 pots, 4,700 yuan. "Can you deliver tomorrow morning?" Li Ming asked. "Yes. Please leave your address and contact number." Li Ming gave her new home's details. As she stepped outside, the shop door wind chime tinkled. Late afternoon sunlight slanted warmly across her face. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Time to head to IFC Mall. Li Ming hailed a taxi toward Lujiazui. At 4 p.m., IFC was busy. The Atrium Coffee Lounge filled with shoppers resting with their bags. Li Ming went straight down to the basement floor. The La Prairie counter sat toward the back, its silver-gray surfaces glinting coldly under spotlights. Li Ming had clear goals today, a full La Mer set plus 1 La Prairie caviar-infused serum. When she neared the La Mer counter, 3 other customers were present. A young financial sector office worker in a black suit dress carrying a Chanel bag sampled cream textures. Beside her was a companion in a gray short-sleeved top. A middle-aged man in a white polo shirt sat on a sofa scrolling his phone, waiting for someone. As Li Ming stepped up to the counter, the beauty advisor greeted her at once. "Welcome to La Mer. What would you like to see?" "I've run out of my previous supplies," Li Ming spoke naturally. "Restock the cream, serum, eye cream, and toner. Give me the large-size essence water." The previous supplies were imaginary. This was Li Ming's classic tactic to earn trust points. The advisor assumed she was a returning customer who had shopped at other branches, and her smile brightened. Primary level target ×1, trust value +1. Current points, 85. "Very well, one moment." The advisor fetched products from cabinets. "Will you stick with the original cream? Would you like the soft cream instead? It is lighter for summer. Classic cream is fine. My skin tends to dryness." Leaning lightly against the counter, Li Ming scrolled her phone and casually added, "Your concentrated repair serum works well. My last bottle is nearly finished." The office worker in the black suit dress overheard. She had lingered at the counter for some time, hesitating over that 4,000 plus yuan serum. Even with a monthly salary of over 30,000 yuan, such expensive skincare strained her budget as living costs rose alongside her income. The advisor laid Li Ming's requested items across the counter: 60 milliliters classic cream, 50 milliliters concentrated repair serum, 15 ml green bottle eye cream, 150 milliliters essence water, plus a 200 milliliters cleansing foam and a revitalizing toner. Rows of teal-hued bottles glowed softly under counter lights. "That totals 23,800 yuan, the advisor said. "Do you have our membership? You can earn points." Li Ming gave her phone number. The system marked her as a new customer. Still, Li Ming's remarks about finishing previous bottles led the advisor to believe she was an established client from another outlet. Registering as a new member struck her as normal. Li Ming scanned to pay. Beside her, the companion in the gray top tugged her friend's sleeve and whispered, quiet enough that only fragments carried to Li Ming's ears, "Look at that girl, spending over 20,000 without blinking. Primary level target ×1, trust deepened +1. Current points, 86. Intermediate level target ×1, trust deepened +10. Current points, 96. Li Ming accepted the 2 heavy paper shopping bags filled with La Mer containers without changing her expression. She moved next to the La Prairie counter and bought 1 caviar serum for over 16,000 yuan. The advisor smiled throughout packaging and gifted 5 sample sets. Primary level target ×1 La Prairie advisor, trust value +1. Current points, 97. Having finished buying skincare, Li Ming walked away from the counters. After she left, the office worker in the black suit dress made up her mind. "Give me that serum," she told the advisor. She still hesitated slightly, pulling out her credit card. Yet, she acted far more decisively than before. The bags grew heavy. Li Ming switched hands twice before freeing her phone to check the time. 5:40 p.m. Carrying the 3 bags, she sat on a bench in the atrium rest area and set them at her feet. Crowds flowed past. A woman with a baby stroller sat nearby. Across on a sofa, a young couple sat. The man browsed his phone while the woman repeatedly glanced at Li Ming's skincare bags. Li Ming did not look up. She opened an app and searched for high-end massage spas near IFC Mall. She had shopped non-stop all day, property viewing and contract signing in the morning, home goods shopping after lunch, then cosmetics. Her heels ached. Several recommendations popped up. She selected Hidden Mountain, a high-end Japanese-style spa in a neighboring office tower famous for aromatherapy back treatments and foot massages, averaging 3,000 yuan per guest. She called to book. "Hello, I would like a massage tonight, around 7 or 8 o'clock, for one person. Do you have availability?" A slot at 8 o'clock was offered. She hung up, remained seated a short while, then stood slowly. She had not decided on dinner. Weary from hours of shopping, she craved warm, effortless food. She mentally reviewed IFC's restaurant directory. Sanzanin she had already tried. There was a Thai place called Thai Delicacy, nicely decorated, reputed for authentic tom yum soup. Carrying her bags, she took the escalator to the 4th floor and found the restaurant. Next to carved wood Buddha statues stood hostesses in Thai-style aprons pressing their palms together and bowing slightly. "So is Dika. How many guests?" "1. A hostess led her to a semi-enclosed booth with dark wood frames and dark velvet cushions. Warm lighting lent good privacy. She set her 3 large skincare bags on the adjacent seat and opened the menu. Tom yum soup, curry crab, green papaya salad, mango sticky rice. All dishes she had seen online but seldom dared order. Back when dining with colleagues at Thai restaurants, she always picked the cheapest rice noodles and watched others eat curry crab. Now dining alone, she ordered a whole curry crab priced above 400 yuan, a large-sized tom yum soup for over 200 yuan, green papaya salad, mango sticky rice, plus Thai milk tea. The waiter took her order, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. One person ordering food for 2. He politely restated the order for confirmation and withdrew. Li Ming knew she had over-ordered. Every dish tempted her. At the next table, 2 well-dressed young women sat. One touched up makeup, the other stared at Li Ming's La Mer bags before murmuring to her companion. Her companion glanced briefly toward Li Ming. Primary, level target ×2, trust deepened +2. Current points, 99. Li Ming sensed their gazes. The corners of her mouth lifted faintly. She sipped lemon-infused water, hiding her quiet satisfaction. When the curry crab arrived, she took a photo, saving it only to her phone album rather than posting it online. She had seen check-in photos of this restaurant online before, filled with comments such as, "Makes me hungry," and "Is it expensive?" Now she sat here herself. Steam curled off the crab, its golden sauce glinting under lights. Dinner lasted more than an hour. She picked apart the crab, finished most of the tom yum soup, and ate every bite of mango sticky rice. Her bill totaled 760 yuan. Primary, level target ×1 waiter, trust value +1. Current points, 100. Leaving Thai Delicacy, she took the escalator down to the ground floor and walked through crowds. She slowed before a men's watch boutique. In Patek Philippe's window rested a classic Calatrava model with a clean dial and golden hands glowing softly under display lights. She looked for a few seconds, then moved on. Watches could wait. First, she needed to settle into her new home, step by step. Shortly after 7 p.m., night fell over Lujiazui. Skyscrapers lit up. The spire of Jinmao Tower shone, and LED screens on the Shanghai Tower rolled advertisements. Li Ming checked her phone. 7:45 p.m. Hidden Mountain Spa occupied the 8th floor of a nearby office building, less than 10 minutes walk away. Entering the spa, a young receptionist in a plain-colored cheapao spoke softly. "Ms. Li, this way please. Let me show you to change your shoes, then the changing room. Your therapist will be with you shortly." Li Ming stored her shopping bags in a locker and changed into linen, blend spa robes. The treatment room was dim, scented with sandalwood. A massage table was covered with fresh white bath towels, and a glass of warm water stood nearby. She lay face down into the table's face, rest opening and closed her eyes. When the therapist's warm, oil, coated hands pressed into her back, every muscle in her body unwound. Firm, even strokes traveled down along her shoulder blades. Surrounded by soft aromatic oil fumes, Li Ming drifted close to sleep. Her last conscious thought, this time tomorrow, she would be living in her luxury apartment. The massage ended at 9:30. She changed back into her clothes, retrieved her bags, and took a taxi back to her old, cramped apartment. Her bags still weighed heavily, yet her heart felt lighter than it ever had. Her alarm rang at 7 the next morning. Li Ming opened her eyes and checked her phone. She sat up and glanced around the cramped old flat. Shopping bags cluttered the sofa, skincare boxes littered the coffee table, odds and ends piled in corners. There was barely any spare space left. Fortunately, she was moving out today. Li Ming spent 1 hour packing her luggage. She didn't have many belongings. She stuffed everything she planned to throw away into a duffel bag and put her new, bought skincare products and clothes into her suitcase. When her lease ended, she would only take this suitcase to her new apartment. Once she finished packing, she sent her landlord a message about terminating the rental. "Ms. Wang, I'm moving out today. The key is on the shoe cabinet by the door. Please transfer my deposit back to me later." The landlord replied with "all right" and a smiling emoji. She took a taxi to Greenland Huangpu Bay. When the property front desk staff saw her pulling her suitcase inside, they greeted her warmly. "Good morning, Miss Li. Are you officially moving in today?" "That's right, I'm staying here today." Li Ming smiled and greeted them. These people were also targets for her system, point gains, so she ought to keep a pleasant attitude. When the elevator doors opened, the entryway was still empty. But as she walked into the living room, sunlight flooded in through the French windows. The whole space blazed with brightness. The Huangpu River glistened outside the window, and the 3 iconic skyscrapers stood sharp and clear in the morning sunlight, just like a painting. She stood in the middle of the living room and took a deep breath. There was no odd odor at all. The property team had completed deep cleaning services. The floor shone spotlessly, and the windows were so clean they barely looked like they were there. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the first delivery arrived. Delivery workers from the bedding store hauled up 3 large boxes. Inside were 3 complete 4-piece bedding sets, Fred and Off, white, Yves de Lorme in mist, blue, and Sfera in champagne. Goose, down comforters and feather pillows were packed separately in vacuum compression bags. Li Ming unpacked the Fred set. She intended to use it first, but it still needed washing. She loaded the bed sheets and duvet cover into the washer. The machine had a built-in dryer, so everything would be ready for use by nightfall. At 9:30, the carpet was delivered. The hand-woven gray, white wool carpet was laid beneath the sofa area in the living room. Measuring 2 meters by 3 meters, it fit perfectly between the sofa and the French windows. Li Ming stepped barefoot onto it. Warmth from the wool seeped up from the soles of her feet, while the silk, blend sections carried a faint coolness. The mix of textures felt so comforting that she almost wanted to sit down right there. Shortly afterwards, the plants and tableware she had ordered the day before arrived too. A 2-meter high fiddle leaf fig was carried over to the French window side. Housed in a cement, gray ceramic pot, it stood like a broad green open umbrella. A monstera plant was placed on the other side of the sofa. Its dark, green leaves were larger than human faces, glinting with glossy sheen under the sunlight. She set 4 smaller plants on nightstands and desks across the 2 bedrooms. Still, she would need to hire a housekeeper soon. She had little patience for plant care, otherwise these greens would wither sooner or later. She then unwrapped the packaging for cups and candle holders. 3 brass candle holders of varying heights were arranged on the sideboard. A dusty, blue ceramic vase sat next to the black marble tray in the entryway. For hand-thrown ceramic plates were stored in the kitchen cabinets, and the rest of the cups and tableware were put away as well. Li Ming turned in a full circle in the center of the living room. The off-white L-shaped sofa and marble-top coffee table had been left by the landlord. The built-in cabinets on the TV wall were still bare, yet her simple arrangements had already breathed life into the flat. She pulled out her phone and took a photo, capturing the French windows, river view, fiddle, leaf fig, and a corner of the carpet, then posted her first moments update since graduation. New home. First day. At 11:30, she changed her clothes and headed out. She wore a silk blouse with wide, leg white trousers and white mid-heel sandals, tying her hair loosely into a low ponytail. Today she was heading to IFC Mall to buy high-quality outfits suitable for formal occasions. She opened her system panel with a glance. Exchanging all 100 points gave 1 million RMB. Added to her existing bank balance of 900,000 renminbi, her total came to 1,900,000 renminbi. Exchange all, she thought silently. Almost instantly, a bank SMS popped up. Your account received a deposit of 1 million renminbi on July 3rd at 11:32. New balance, 1,904,237 renminbi and 62 cents. For lunch, she picked Shell's, a Western-style restaurant in Huangpu district boasting a 4.8 review score, famous for its 588 RMB per person set menu. The restaurant occupied an old Western-style villa on the Bund Source, with white walls, black window frames, and a large sweet osmanthus tree out front. When Li Ming walked in, a waiter led her to a window side table. Outside, old buildings along Yuanminjiwen Road displayed red brick facades glowing warm under the midday sun. She opened the menu and ordered the set meal: scallop tartare for the appetizer, grilled cod with lemon, butter sauce for the main course, and passion fruit mousse for dessert. While waiting for her food, she leaned back in her chair and watched pedestrians pass by outside. When the cod arrived, she ate slowly, savoring every bite. In her past life, she had always scarfed down meals in a rush, hurrying back to work or to sleep. Now she had all the time in the world. She could sit inside an old bun villa and spend 2 hours enjoying a peaceful meal. After finishing the last bite of mousse, she settled her 588 RMB bill and walked outside. The sun blazed bright. She stood at the intersection waiting for the traffic light, with the Bund right across the road. She glanced down at her phone. 13:10. Time to head to IFC Mall. The atrium on IFC's first floor was far busier than it had been in the morning. Boutique storefronts glistened under afternoon lighting. Chanel's black facade, Dior's gray and white entrance, and Hermès' orange sign lined up like a luxury shopping corridor. Her first stop was Chanel. As she pushed open the door, a shop assistant in a black suit came over. Around 30 years old, with neat short hair and polished makeup, her name tag read Sophie. Sophie's eyes flicked over Li Ming. She wore well-tailored clothes with no obvious brand logos, carried no shopping bags, and moved with easy composure. The way she headed straight for ready-to-wear racks and scanned the hangers suggested she was no casual window shopper. Welcome to Chanel. Sophie stayed close by, speaking at a steady pace. What would you like to look at today? Both clothes and bags. I plan to buy quite a few items. Li Ming disliked having assistants hover while shopping, yet her current goal was to build up a convincing public image, so she was fine with the constant company. She reached the ready-to-wear section and scanned row after row of hangers. Please recommend dresses, blouses, trousers, and shoes. I intend to pick up several full outfits. Sophie's eyes lit up. This was clearly a high-spending customer. Her monthly KPI was looking promising. This way, please. Sophie guided her toward the summer collection racks. Li Ming's gaze landed on a pale, pink tweed short jacket. Cropped with a round neckline, fine silver threads wove through the cuffs and hem, shimmering softly under the lights. She touched the fabric, feeling the distinct texture of tweed. It was moderately thick, perfect for air-conditioned shopping malls in summer. I'd like to try this one. Sophie fetched the correct size and suggested other pieces. This pairs beautifully with wide-leg white trousers or a midi skirt. Bring over those wide-leg white trousers for me to try on. Li Ming took the recommended items and picked out several more for the fitting room. The fitting room was spacious. After trying everything on, she settled on 4 complete outfits. Outfit 1, pale, pink tweed short jacket, white silk wide-leg trousers, beige mid-heel sandals. Outfit 2, beige knit short, sleeve top, ivory tweed midi skirt, beige retro sneakers. Outfit 3, pale, blue silk blouse, matching straight-leg trousers, brown loafers. Outfit 4, off, white slip dress layered under a matching sheer tulle cardigan embroidered with tiny scattered flowers, paired with black patent, leather ballet flats. Once her choices were confirmed, Li Ming told Sophie to pack them up. Shocked by the volume of purchases, Sophie quickly called over a colleague to help. I'd also like to browse handbags. Show me the bag section. Li Ming said to Sophie while staff busied themselves with packing. Certainly. We have brand new arrivals just in store. Delighted by the additional purchase, Sophie set aside the packing work and led Li Ming toward the handbag counters. More customers walked into the boutique at that moment. A mother and daughter pair, the mother, around 50, wore a camel-colored suit and a Patek Philippe watch on her wrist. The daughter, in her early 20s, carried a black Chanel flat bag. The two were examining handbags at the display counter. Another young woman shopped alone, dressed in an oversized white shirt and jeans, wearing a Cartier love bracelet. She tried on a pair of earrings at the jewelry counter and took photos with her phone. Sophie brought Li Ming to the bag displays. Seeing the colorful, exquisitely crafted handbags, Li Ming's desire to shop surged. She paid no mind to resale value, trying on styles purely based on personal preference, and finally selected four. A white enamel, class chain bag, a black medium, size 22 bag, a pink classic flat bag with top handle, and a haze, blue WOC wallet, on chain. Please pack these four. There were several other styles she fancied, but knowing she still had other stores to visit, she stuck to her top picks. Sophie tapped rapidly on her tablet, her smile broadening. Very well. For full clothing outfits, for pairs of shoes, and 4 handbags. Let me calculate your total. After a short calculation, she looked up and gave the figure, 860,000 RMB in total. Li Ming kept her composure and pulled out her phone. All right, let's process payment. The mother-daughter pair happened to walk past the counter. Upon hearing 860,000, the daughter visibly paused. She received a generous monthly allowance of 1 million RMB, yet she would never spend over 700,000 all at once on clothing. Even among wealthy youth receiving stipends, buying 2 or 3 bags per month already counted as lavish spending, given all their other expenses. She quietly tugged at her mother's sleeve and nodded subtly toward Li Ming. Her mother followed her gaze. Her expression remained neutral, yet her eyes lingered on Li Ming's face for an extra second. She had shopped at Chanel for over a decade. Spending 200,000 to 300,000 in one visit already counted as a large purchase for her. This young woman's visit spend exceeded her entire year Chanel budget. Either she came from an extremely powerful family, or she earned enormous personal wealth with no need to worry about spending limits. Either way, she could not help observing her. Hi, value target times 1, trust value plus 100. Current points, 100. Unconcerned with discretion, the daughter pretended to scroll through her phone while angling her camera secretly toward Li Ming. She had come to IFC with her mother hoping to persuade her into buying a new bag, but her mother had refused, saying white bags were impractical. Seeing a girl around her own age purchase 4 bags in one go stirred complicated feelings of envy inside her. "Mom, look at her," she whispered. Her mother shot her a warning glance. "Mind your own business." The girl pouted yet kept stealing glances toward Li Ming. Stacked packed-up boxes made for an impressive sight. Inside her mind, the girl was already itching to message her friends and talk about what she had witnessed. Hi, value target times 1, trust value plus 100. Current points, 200. Sophie finished packing. For large paper, bags held the clothing sets, and each handbag sat inside its own gift box. As she worked, she asked, "Miss Li, would you like us to arrange delivery? You have quite a lot of items to carry by yourself." "Yes." Li Ming gave her new apartment address. "Deliver tomorrow." After noting down the address, Sophie hoped to add Li Ming's WeChat. "Feel free to contact me anytime for future requests. I will notify you the moment new stock arrives." Li Ming accepted the friend request, smiled, and walked toward the exit. She stepped aside politely to make way for the mother-daughter pair and briefly locked eyes with the daughter. The girl opened her mouth as if about to speak, yet said nothing. Li Ming nodded politely and pushed open the shop door. Behind her, she heard the daughter's lowered voice. "Mom, who do you think she is?" Her mother offered no reply. Walking along IFC's overhead corridor, Li Ming felt a rush of excitement. In that brief eye contact moment, she had spotted curiosity, admiration, and a hint of rivalry in the girl's gaze. In her past life, those had been her own feelings when looking at other people. Now others directed those exact emotions toward her. Hi, value target times 1, deepen trust plus 100. Current points, 300, another 100 points added. She truly had become someone others envied. Her performance-based disguise had worked. No one suspected her real background so far. Leaving Chanel, she entered Dior next. Dior's boutique occupied another section of the first-floor mall. Its gray and white exterior looked serene under afternoon sunlight. Since all her Chanel purchases were scheduled for delivery, Li Ming only carried her newly bought Chanel 22 bag, traveling light. A young male shop assistant greeted her enthusiastically the moment she walked in. "Welcome to Dior. What are you looking for today?" His eyes flickered over her Chanel bag, curiosity flickering beneath his professional politeness. Such eager service momentarily confused Li Ming. Had luxury store customer service always been this intense? What Li Ming did not know was that news of her huge 70,000 plus yuan Chanel purchase had spread through internal chat groups shared by IFC sales associates. Every retail staff hoped this big, spending client would walk into their own store so they could secure sales and new contacts. In tough economic times, customers willing to spend such large sums were extremely valuable. Prompted by his enthusiasm, Li Ming started browsing clothing. She was quite fond of Dior's dress collection, ranging from plain elegant styles, vacation, themed prints, to lace and tulle designs. She told the assistant her size and asked him to prepare 6 to 7 dresses she had picked out. Though not yet a VIP customer, the observant assistant escorted her to a private VIP fitting room regardless. After looking over garments, she moved to the shoe section. She focused on mid-heeled sandals and planned to buy 2 pairs of high heels for formal occasions. She liked many pairs, yet kept her bank account balance in mind. In the end, she selected 5 pairs of mid-heels and 2 pairs of high heels. When Li Ming returned to the fitting room, the assistant brought over a tray of jewelry for matching with her outfits. He was clearly skilled at encouraging extra sales. In the end, she kept 6 full outfits, satisfied by their excellent tailoring and fit. She also picked 6 pairs of earrings for daily styling. She passed over necklaces and other ornaments. Many were set with tiny diamonds and gold-plated metal. She planned to buy fine jewelry from dedicated jewelry boutiques later. Once finished, she gestured toward clothes and jewelry laid across the fitting room sofa. "I will take all of these. Please pack them." "Right away, Miss Li." The assistant nodded eagerly and tentatively added, "Packing will take a little while." "Would you like to view our handbag collection? Many new colors have just arrived." He was certain this was the high-spending customer mentioned in staff chat groups. Seeing Li Ming's easy-going attitude, he seized the chance to push more merchandise. This was a valuable opportunity. Low-level target ×1, trust value +1. Current points, 301, very well, show me. Li Ming had no idea about his internal calculations, yet she also intended to buy more bags, and public store floors were ideal for earning system points. The assistant brought out 4 Lady Dior handbags for her review. 2 were lambskin styles in white and haze blue, with meticulous canage stitching and soft, glinting metal letter charms. 1 was patent leather pale pink, and the 4th featured Di Rivera printed toile de Joey fabric on a mint green base, fresh, feeling like summer mint tea. Li Ming laid all 4 side by side on the counter for a few seconds, then pointed toward the printed mint green one. "I don't want this one." The assistant removed it, expecting her to pick one from the remaining 3. Instead, Li Ming spoke slowly, "I will take all 3 of these." The assistant involuntarily glanced up, double-checking whether he had heard correctly. 3 handbags at once. Low-level target ×1, trust value +1. Current points, 302. Li Ming smiled. This exact sense of stunned surprise was what she wanted. "Charge these together with the clothes and shoes I selected earlier. Low-level target ×1, trust value +1. Current points, 303. Once fully convinced she meant it, the assistant began processing payment. Her clothing purchases had meanwhile been fully packed. 3 staff members worked together to carry all the boxes to the checkout counter, forming a tall eye-catching pile. Li Ming's system panel kept flashing notifications. Primary target ×1, trust points +1. Current points, 304. Primary target ×1, trust points +1. Current points, 305. Primary target ×1, trust points +1. Current points, 306. Intermediate target ×1, trust points +20. Current points, 326. Most of the primary target points came from the store staff. The last intermediate target was the woman standing beside Li Ming trying on high heels. She looked to be in her 30s, wearing a dark green midi dress and carrying a black Dior Lady Dior bag. Hearing Li Ming tell the sales assistant she would take all 3 handbags, she lifted her gaze from the shoes and glanced over at Li Ming. She had bought her own Black Lady Dior 3 years ago, agonizing over the decision for 2 whole months before committing to the purchase. Yet Li Ming had agreed to buy 3 bags without a moment's hesitation, and they were the highly sought, after mini sizes at that. Before she could recover from her shock, she watched the shop assistants carry over stacks of packaging boxes. She looked down at the pair of high heels she was debating buying, priced at more than 8,000. Spurred on by seeing Li Ming's extravagant purchase, she tried to convince herself that women ought to treat themselves well. In the end, she gritted her teeth and decided to buy them. Her total bill came to 436,000 yuan, leaving her with roughly 700,000 yuan remaining in her account. After leaving the Dior boutique, Li Ming took the escalator up to the 2nd floor. At the landing, she was drawn to the display in Valentino's shop window. A pale pink top decorated with feather detailing caught her eye immediately. She decided to go inside and browse. When Li Ming pushed open the door and walked in, a shop assistant hurried over to greet her. She was a young woman with a high ponytail and warm, crinkly eyes when she smiled. "Hello. Welcome to Valentino." Li Ming glanced around the merchandise on display. Many pieces carried a laid-back, effortless vibe. Cover-ups, blouses, flowing dresses, and midi skirts, off-the-shoulder tops, flared trousers. The color palette brimmed with bright summery shades. Li Ming did not purchase a huge haul this time. She thought some of the designs did not suit her style, so she only picked out 2 outfits. An ivory silk blouse paired with matching flared trousers. The blouse featured delicate ruffled trim along the neckline, while the trousers had wide, sweeping hems. A pale pink slip dress crafted from lightweight fabric with an asymmetrical skirt that hung casually, exuding relaxed elegance. The 2 outfits cost just over 60,000 yuan. She also picked up a pair of white mid-heel slide sandals priced at 8,600 yuan, which matched the dress perfectly. As she waited to pay, 2 young women stood nearby. Both were in their early 20s. One wore a black Chanel jacket, and the other carried a Hermès Picotin bag. They already held multiple shopping bags, Celine, Loewe, and a BV paper bag among them. The girl in the Chanel jacket was trying on a bucket bag with an ivory and beige color block design, turning it over in her hands repeatedly. Her friend with the Picotin bag held up her phone to take photos. "It looks great. You should get it," the girl with the Picotin said. The girl wearing the Chanel jacket hesitated. "It's 19,000. I only bought 2 new bags last month." "Can you afford 19,000? "I could, technically." As she spoke, her gaze drifted sideways and landed right on Li Ming scanning the payment code. 72,000 yuan for 2 outfits and a pair of shoes. The number displayed clearly on the payment screen. The girl in the Chanel jacket froze for a second, then set the raffia bucket bag back down. "I'll pass for now," she told her friend. The girl with the Picotin followed her line of sight toward Li Ming, then looked at the handful of shopping bags in her own grasp. Suddenly she felt as if she had not bought very much during their outing. "Hi, level target times 2, trust points plus 200. Current points, 526. After paying and walking out of Valentino, Li Ming could still faintly hear the 2 girls talking behind her. "Is that girl shopping alone? Seems like it. I don't see anyone with her. She shops so freely. I wish I could buy things like that too." "You could if you skipped buying another car." "The things I buy are necessities." Li Ming walked along the 2nd floor corridor, a soft smile tugging at her lips. It was obvious the pair came from wealthy families, Chanel jacket, Hermès bag, armfuls of luxury shopping bags. Even so, they could not help but stare when they saw someone shopping without worrying about prices. She glanced down at her system panel, 526 trust points. From the mother and daughter at Chanel to these 2 wealthy young women, 4 people had earned her 500 points in a single afternoon. But 500 points translated to only 5 million yuan. She was still far from living the completely unrestricted life she dreamed of. A set of high-end jewelry could easily exhaust that sum. If she wanted to earn substantial rewards, she needed to encounter more high-level targets. As for supreme-level targets, locations like this shopping mall were not ideal for meeting them. It was time to consider using the lottery feature. The prize pool contained several special item cards that might prove useful. Still, she had one major stop planned for the day: Hermès. A wealthy woman's collection felt incomplete without an Hermès handbag. Hermès branch at IFC occupied the ground floor of Block D. Its bright orange storefront stood out sharply among the surrounding luxury boutiques. When Li Ming reached the entrance, 3 or 4 people were queuing ahead of her. She waited roughly 10 minutes before being invited inside. The shop featured an open layout with sparsely arranged displays. Several bags sat in the display cabinets, a black Birkin 30, an elephant gray Kelly 28, and peacoat in baskets in various colors. However, the most desirable stock was kept in the back storage area. Customers needed to build rapport with sales staff to view them. A male shop assistant in a navy suit approached her. He was in his mid-30s, wearing thin, rimmed glasses and offering a professional smile. "Hello, welcome to Hermes. What would you like to look at today?" Li Ming did not immediately ask to see handbags. She knew Hermes' unspoken rules. If you directly requested a Birkin or Kelly, 90% of the time staff would politely inform you there were none available. First, she needed to purchase other goods to demonstrate her purchasing power and commitment, the so-called spend requirement. "I'd like to browse the home collection, candles, and decorative objects." Li Ming chose items she would actually use. "I'd also like to look at clothing and shoes." Selecting a wider range of products improved her chances of securing a handbag. The assistant nodded and led her toward the home goods section. Hermes offered an extensive home line: scented candles, ceramic ornaments, wool blankets, leather trays, and more. It was clear the brand knew how to encourage customers to spend. Li Ming picked out a set of 3 scented candles, scented with orange blossom, sandalwood, and fig. She also selected a set of printed tableware decorated with Hermes' iconic patterns. The pieces would look undeniably expensive displayed at home, and she finished with a sofa throw blanket. She then moved to the ready-to-wear section. Li Ming chose an ebony brown sheer silk dress. Its lightweight fabric flowed gently as someone walked. Next was a plaster beige reversible denim jacket with V-shaped stitching, practical and distinctive. She also selected a lightweight brown cashmere coat, the priciest item at 68,000 yuan. To match, she picked off white trainers, Hermes' signature H-slide sandals, and a slender metal belt. After choosing clothes and shoes, she grabbed a beige leather wallet to hold her bank cards. She had not used a wallet in years, but frequent large purchases meant she would be paying by card often from now on. She added 2 silk scarves to tie onto handbags, bringing her total spend requirement close to the needed amount. "I'd also like to look at handbags," Li Ming mentioned casually, as if it were an afterthought. The assistant's gaze lingered on her face for a moment before he nodded. "Do you have any particular style in mind?" "A Birkin or Kelly, small sizes. Summer colors: pink, pale yellow, mint green, lavender. I'm not fixed on one style. Anything attractive works." Her tone was relaxed, genuinely flexible about the exact option. She still held around 700,000 yuan in her bank account, and she could convert points to cash at any time, leaving her financially comfortable. Base model Birkins and Kellys cost roughly 300,000 yuan. Combined with the required supporting purchases, she could easily afford the total cost. She prioritized colors she liked rather than shades deemed good for resale value by others. Seemingly convinced of Li Ming's spending capacity, the assistant headed toward the back room. A short while later, he returned carrying an orange box. "We happen to have one Kelly 25 available for you, Ms. Li." He set the box on the coffee table and opened it. Epsom leather, mint green with silver hardware. "This color is extremely popular right now, and this is the only one we have in store." Li Ming leaned forward to look. The bag rested neatly inside the box. The mint green shade felt refreshing for summer. It was exactly the color she wanted, and Epsom leather was more durable, less delicate than lambskin. She lifted the bag to try it on. The 25-centimeter size easily fit a mobile phone, card holder, and lipstick. It came with a top handle plus a detachable shoulder strap. Lightweight and refined in her hand. "It's lovely," she said sincerely. "I'll take this one." She was not merely buying the bag to maintain an image, she genuinely admired it. The assistant carefully placed the bag back into its box and covered it with a dust bag. He quoted the bag's price, 320,000 yuan. Together with the supporting purchases totaling 298,000 yuan, her bill came to 618,000 yuan. The amount spent just to qualify for one luxury handbag was far beyond what most people could afford. While she waited to pay, other customers remained in the shop. A woman in a blue dress stood by the jewelry counter trying on a silk scarf, yet her eyes kept drifting toward Li Ming. She had visited Hermes multiple times, only to be told she needed to wait whenever she asked about purchasing a handbag. Now she watched Li Ming browse candles, clothing, and shoes, after which the sales assistant brought out a mint green Kelly 25 for her in less than 40 minutes. She slipped the scarf from her neck and gently set it back on the counter. It was not that there was no stock. She simply had not spent enough. Comparing oneself to others could be truly disheartening. Intermediate target times 1, trust points plus 10. Current points, 536. After Li Ming completed payment, the sales assistant asked to add her WeChat. Maintaining contact with one's Hermes advisor mattered greatly. Staff would occasionally notify clients of new arrivals, and regular visits to make purchases helped secure access to coveted bags in the future. Li Ming carried the orange box and stepped out of Hermes. The late afternoon sun slanted through IFC's glass dome. She paused on the corridor, took out her phone and snapped a photo of the orange box bathed in sunlight, then posted it to her Moments. Kelly 25, mint green. Favorite find of the day. She had spent nearly 1.8 million yuan that afternoon. While the sum paled in comparison to the godlike wealthy protagonists in novels who spent millions in a single day, this style of shopping felt familiar to her, and she was steadily adapting. Every purchase stirred feelings of admiration and trust in onlookers. Each gain in trust generated points, and points became capital for further spending. A perfect cycle of generating wealth. Still, she now fully understood the saying, people cannot earn money beyond the limits of their own knowledge. She could not spend money in contexts unfamiliar to her. Attending jewelry exhibitions or high society galas, for instance, would leave her completely out of her depth. Her current stock of points was substantial. Once she returned home, she needed to research such social spheres thoroughly. As she put her phone away, she heard footsteps and chatter approaching from behind. Li Ming turned and recognized two familiar figures, the wealthy young women from Valentino. They carried 2 more shopping bags and walked along chatting. The girl in the Chanel jacket spotted Li Ming first and paused. Her eyes moved to the orange box in Li Ming's hand. Surprise crossed her features, shifting into a complex expression mixed with envy and curiosity. "Hi," she spoke up, her voice brighter than it had been inside Valentino. "Did you just come out of Hermes?" Li Ming smiled. "Yes, I just finished shopping. Are you here alone?" "I am." The girl in the Chanel jacket hesitated briefly, then said, "Would you mind adding WeChat? We could go shopping together sometime." "I'm Zhonian." She gestured to the girl beside her. "This is my friend Chinyu." Li Ming looked at the pair. Both smiled warmly, without malice, simply eager to connect after seeing someone with comparable spending power. Li Ming thought it could not have come at a better time. She had been hoping to find someone who could introduce her to affluent social circles. And now 2 young women from wealthy families had appeared. She quickly pulled out her mobile phone. "Sure. I'm Li Ming. We can hang out sometime." After exchanging WeChat contacts, Zhou Nian chatted with Li Ming for almost 20 minutes. "I admire how you can shop alone like this," Zhou Nian said, eyes sparkling. "I always drag Chinyu along. Shopping alone feels boring." Chinyu rolled her eyes. "You never drag me. I'm the one who volunteers every time. Be quiet." Li Ming laughed at their banter. Zhou Nian talked constantly, while Chinyu spoke less, but always had a witty retort. Together they were like a comedy duo. After chatting a while, Zhou Nian asked, "Where do you live?" "Chinyu and I usually shop at IFC and Hongling Plaza. If you're nearby, we can meet up often." "Dongjiadu. That's really close." Zhou Nian clapped her hands. "I live in Xintiandi and Chinyu lives in Lujiazui. The 3 of us make a perfect group." They exchanged a few more words and arranged to meet for afternoon tea another day. Before leaving, Zhou Nian patted Li Ming's shoulder. "I'll message you soon. Keep an eye on WeChat." Li Ming watched Zhou Nian and Chinyu disappear toward the escalator before checking her phone. Zhou Nian's profile picture featured a white Bichon frise, and her Moments cover photo showed her and Chinyu posing in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Their lives appeared easy and lively, shopping, dining, traveling, taking photos. The lifestyle typical of young women raised in comfortable, well-off households. It was exactly the life Li Ming longed for, joyful days free from financial stress. Li Ming slipped her phone into her pocket and walked toward the exit of IFC. When she reached the ground floor atrium, she remembered she had bought skincare the previous day but no sunscreen. She headed to the La Mer counter. As soon as she approached, the short-haired shop assistant who had served her yesterday recognized her. Her smile grew even warmer. "Ms. Li, welcome back." "Hi." I'll take a bottle of sunscreen and the treatment lotion. The assistant efficiently packed the items. How are you finding the set you bought yesterday? I haven't opened it yet. I moved into a new place today. You've moved. Congratulations. Li Ming paid and carried the small La Mer bag outside. By the time she stepped out of IFC's main entrance, dusk had fallen. The skyscrapers of Lujiazui lit up. The distinctive silhouettes of the three landmark towers standing clear against the dark sky. Li Ming stood on the steps. A cool breeze carrying river moisture blew over from the Huangpu River. She checked her phone. Zhou Yan sent a message. It was lovely meeting you today. Let's go shopping together soon. Heart. Li Ming replied with a smile emoji. Tomorrow, all the clothing and handbags she had bought at the mall would be delivered to her new apartment. Her wardrobes would gradually fill up, just as her life would. Li Ming hailed a taxi. As the vehicle traveled through the tunnel, she leaned back against the seat and closed her eyes. The day had been exhausting. She had moved house in the morning and shopped non-stop through the afternoon. Still, she felt happy, having bought only items she loved without worrying about prices. When she had no money, she also enjoyed wandering shops, though back then she mostly visited supermarkets. The taxi pulled up outside her residential complex. Li Ming opened her eyes. Warm yellow light spilled through the glass doors of the lobby, welcoming her home. When the elevator doors opened, she stepped into her entryway. She set the Hermes box on the sideboard and carried the La Mer bag into the master bathroom. She kicked off her shoes and stepped barefoot onto the gray, white wool rug, walking slowly toward the floor, to ceiling windows. The three landmark towers glowed against the night sky, and the Huangpu River stretched out below, its lights shimmering like a flowing river of stars. Li Ming stood before the glass and saw her reflection. She wore a pale beige dress, her hair slightly messy, weariness etched on her face. Yet her eyes shone brightly. She picked up her phone and messaged Zhou Yan. Call me whenever you want to go shopping. I'm free anytime. Zhou Yan replied instantly, great. Jump. Li Ming smiled, set the phone down on the coffee table and walked into the master bedroom. She was too tired to feel hungry and decided to skip dinner, planning to wash up and go straight to sleep. She made the bed with the fret off, white linen set she had purchased earlier. The white goose down duvet was soft and fluffy, and two down pillows sat neatly against the headboard. She changed into pajamas and climbed under the covers. Sinking into the bedding felt like resting on a cloud. Expensive goods truly earned their price tag. Li Ming closed her eyes, a faint smile lingering on her lips, and drifted into a deep sleep. Delivery started at 9 in the morning. The first shipment was from Chanel. 4 large cardboard boxes and 6 flat, oversized paper bags were neatly stacked on the living room floor. Each of the 6 outfits came in its own bag, including dresses, outerwear, wide leg trousers, blouses, midi skirts, shoes, slippers, and stud earrings, spreading all kinds of items across the floor. The second delivery was Dior. The clothes were folded neatly, and 3 Lady Dior handbags were individually placed inside an elegant white gift box tied with gray silk ribbon. The third shipment was Valentino, a smaller delivery with only 3 bags. The fourth was Hermes, one huge crate filled with smaller boxes holding accessories purchased alongside the handbags. Looking at the mountain of packaging piled up in the living room, Li Ming could only think how wasteful all this excess wrapping was. She then pulled out her phone and took a photo, posting it to her newly created Zaihongshu account from the previous day. What was the point of splurging on luxury goods if she couldn't share them? After that, she set about sorting through all the packages, squatting on the floor unpacking for nearly 2 hours. She took each piece of clothing out of the paper bags one by one, shook them out and hung them up in the wardrobe. The private walk-in closet in the master bedroom was finally getting use. It had stood empty before, but now one whole row was filled, and she planned to keep expanding her collection. Her handbags were arranged in a dedicated cabinet, layered neatly just like a retail display. Shoes were removed from their boxes and lined up along the lowest shelf of the closet. Jewelry went into the middle drawer of the cabinet. Her Chanel pearl stud earrings, Dior drop earrings, and rolled-up meter belt were placed beside one another. Once everything was tidied away, Li Ming could barely straighten her waist. Leaning against the doorframe of the closet, she stared at the full wardrobe and handbag cabinet and suddenly realized something. Her collection would only keep growing. Today's haul was relatively modest. She would keep shopping at IPM, Hongling Plaza, and other boutiques. Every single item required care and organization. Clothes needed seasonal rotation, leather goods required conditioning, and shoes needed polishing. She could never manage all of this on her own. On top of that, her 300 square meter home needed deep cleaning every week. Flooring, carpets, windows, kitchens, and bathrooms all needed regular upkeep. She could hardly imagine herself kneeling down to mop the entire property. Li Meng walked into the living room, sank onto the sofa, and picked up her phone to search. She typed high-end housekeeping services Shanghai and got dozens of agency results. She then searched private personal assistant recruitment, which brought up several headhunting contacts. After a moment's thought, she decided to hire 2 people. One housekeeper to take care of cleaning, cooking, and clothing organization, and one personal assistant to handle external errands, booking flights, planning trips, driving, carrying purchases, reserving restaurants, and managing event invitations. Li Meng called 2 top-rated luxury housekeeping agencies. The first arranged for an interview at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the second scheduled theirs for 3. She also contacted a recruitment firm specializing in personal assistants, who said they could send over 2 candidates at 4 o'clock. All interviews were set for the afternoon. After hanging up, she checked the time. 11:20. She had been busy unpacking all morning and was already hungry. Not wanting to head out again, she browsed a review platform and ordered takeaway from an upscale Cantonese restaurant near the Bund. "Hello, I'd like to order a set meal for 1, delivered to Greentown Huanfuan." The staff quoted a price of 1,200 yuan. Li Meng completed the payment and sent a message to the property reception informing them of her order. The reception replied immediately, "Understood, Ms. Li. We will bring it up shortly." Less than 40 minutes later, the doorbell rang. A uniformed property attendant stood at the doorway holding a white insulated bag. With a polite, professional smile, "Ms. Li, your lunch has arrived." "Thank you." Li Meng took the bag and opened it. White porcelain food containers were stacked neatly inside. There was a pot of fish ma chicken soup, a plate of shrimp dumplings, roasted goose, fried Chinese broccoli, and a serving of mango pomelo sago dessert. Silver cutlery and neatly folded napkins were provided by the restaurant. This premium takeaway experience rivaled dining in the actual restaurant. She ate slowly at the small table by the floor, to ceiling windows. Sunlight streamed over the white porcelain tableware. The wrappers of the shrimp dumplings were translucent, and the crispy skin of the roasted goose crunched lightly as she bit into it. While eating, she scrolled through messages sent by Zhou Nian the previous night. Zhou Nian had sent several messages. "Li Meng, I found an amazing afternoon tea spot at the Peninsula Hotel recently. Are you free tomorrow? I want to go shopping at 8 p.m. Li Meng replied, "I'm busy today, but we can meet tomorrow." Zhou Nian replied instantly, "Great. Heart emoji, I'll drive over to pick you up." Li Meng smiled and sent over her location, then set her phone aside to continue her soup. Once she finished eating, Li Meng remembered the system lottery feature. She opened her system panel and looked at the lottery pool. Points lottery pool. Silver tier, 50 points per draw. Gold tier, 100 points per draw. Diamond tier, 200 points per draw. Rewards available in the pool include cash, physical assets, special items, and more. She currently held 536 points. She planned to buy jewelry the next day, so she wanted to keep sufficient funds available. Besides, she had no idea what prizes the lottery offered. She decided to try her luck with the silver tier first. She tapped the draw button for the silver tier, spending 50 points. A silver treasure chest popped up, and she clicked on it as prompted. A golden card appeared, accompanied by a system notification. "Congratulations to the host. You have obtained a limited time reward multiplier card." Li Meng looked at the card and read its description. After activating the card, complete consumption within the valid period to receive multiplied rewards on the total spending amount. The card expires once the time limit ends. Tap Activate to start immediately. The explanation was vague. It stated neither the valid duration nor the multiplication rate. Even if it only doubled her spending, she would still profit. The unknown factor was how much time she would have. Considering this was the lowest tier lottery reward, she suspected the window would be short, possibly only a few minutes. She would have to plan carefully to maximize the card's effect during her shopping trip the next day. At 2 o'clock sharp in the afternoon, the doorbell rang. Her first housekeeping candidate arrived. The woman appeared to be around 45 years old, with short hair and a clean dark blue work uniform, carrying a small toolbox. She bowed slightly at the door with a modest smile. Good afternoon, Ms. Lee. I'm Aunt Wong. The agency sent me for the interview. Li Ming invited her inside and showed her around the residence. As you can see, the property is 300 square meters. I require deep cleaning once a week, plus routine light maintenance. You will also organize clothing in the walk-in closet and handle seasonal storage. Breakfast will need to be prepared. Lunch and dinner only occasionally, not every day. Aunt Wong nodded repeatedly. No problem at all. I have many years of housekeeping experience, and I'm very efficient at organizing clothes. Li Ming asked her to test her cooking skills in the kitchen. Please prepare a few simple home-cooked dishes for dinner today. All ingredients are in the refrigerator. Aunt Wong washed her hands and tied on an apron. She moved quickly, her knife work steady. In less than 40 minutes, she brought out 3 dishes and a soup: tomato scrambled eggs, stir-fried greens, braised beef, and seaweed egg drop soup. The food smelled warm and appetizing. Li Ming took a bite of beef. It was tender and well seasoned, with the comforting flavor of home cooking. The food is excellent, Aunt Wong. Thank you. Please wait for our decision. I will contact you later today if we move forward. Aunt Wong looked slightly surprised, but quickly nodded. All right, Ms. Lee. Take your time to decide. She wiped her hands and left with her toolbox. At 3 o'clock, the second housekeeping candidate arrived. Aunt Lu, around 40 years old, also looked neat and capable. Li Ming showed her around the house and asked her to stir-fry greens to demonstrate her cooking. Aunt Lu's cooking was just as good as Aunt Wong's, but she talked constantly while chopping ingredients, rambling about her previous employers and how well they treated her. After listening for more than 10 minutes, Li Ming nodded. Thank you, Aunt Lu. Please wait for our decision. I will reply today. Once Aunt Lu left, Li Ming sat on the sofa and compared their resumes. Aunt Wong, 43 years old, with 7 years of experience working for high-end households. She had served 3 families with full 5-star reviews. Aunt Lu, 41 years old, 5 years of experience, including 3 years with her previous employer. On paper, both were qualified. However, Aunt Wong seemed more reliable and quiet, focused on her work. Aunt Lu had an outgoing personality but was overly chatty. Li Ming preferred peace and quiet at home and did not want constant conversation. She circled Aunt Wong's resume, but held off on calling the agency until she finalized her personal assistant. Interviews for the personal assistant began at 4 o'clock. The headhunter sent 2 female candidates. As Li Ming had specifically requested a woman for the role for convenience. Li Ming blinked in surprise when the first candidate walked in. The young woman was around 24 or 25. With a low ponytail, wearing a light gray knit sweater and black straight-leg trousers. She carried herself calmly and professionally. She did not glance curiously around the house after entering. Her resume stated she was an English graduate from Shanghai International Studies University, with 2 years of experience working at a study abroad consultancy. She held a valid Chinese driver's license obtained 3 years earlier. Li Ming asked her to sit down and posed several scenario-based questions. If I suddenly told you tomorrow that I wanted to travel to Tokyo, could you book flights and accommodation on the same day? I can, the woman replied calmly and confidently. My passport and visa are both valid. When booking on your behalf, I will prioritize direct flights and conveniently located hotels. Before purchasing tickets, I will first confirm whether you hold a valid multiple entry visa for Japan. Li Ming nodded and asked another question. What if I asked you to plan a 1-month trip across Europe? The woman thought briefly and maintained her steady tone. I would need 3 to 5 days to create a detailed itinerary. But I can provide a preliminary outline on day 1, including the travel route between countries, suggested stay durations, key attractions, and hotel recommendations. Li Ming raised another impromptu question. If I buy numerous items while shopping and cannot carry everything, how would you handle it? I will stay by your side throughout. If there are too many bags, I will arrange to send them to the vehicle or the delivery address in batches. If the store does not offer delivery, I will carry the items myself so your shopping is not interrupted. Li Ming nodded, impressed with her response. The candidate answered every question steadily and logically. She told the woman to leave her contact information and wait for updates. The second candidate arrived 10 minutes late and apologized repeatedly, blaming traffic. She wore a white puff-sleeve blouse and denim shorts, appearing younger than the first applicant, likely only 1 or 2 years out of university. As she stepped inside, she quietly looked around the luxury home, a mixture of admiration and wonder in her eyes. This was her first time visiting such an upscale residence. Her gaze drifted to Li Ming. It was her first interview for a personal assistant position, and she had not expected her employer to be so young, seemingly around her own age. This must be a wealthy young heiress. She sighed inwardly. The gap between people was immense. She needed to work hard to build her own future. She shook off her thoughts and steeled herself. New acquaintance ×1, trust value +1. Current points, 487. Li Ming caught the system notification and glanced at the young woman. She did not mind the curious stares. She could sense there was no ill will, only genuine curiosity. The candidate's resume listed Shanghai University Chinese Language and Literature, with administrative assistant experience. Li Ming asked her the same set of questions. When asked about booking a last-minute trip to Tokyo, she replied quickly, "I can complete the bookings, but I don't have a Japanese visa yet. I would need to apply first before buying tickets to avoid wasting money." It was an honest answer. When asked about planning a month-long European trip, her response was less confident. "I would need more than a week to research. I don't know Europe well." She pressed her lips together, aware it was not a strong answer. For the question about carrying shopping bags, she hesitated then said, "I can help hold your purchases, but I'm not very tall, so I might struggle with extremely heavy items." Li Ming smiled. She could see how nervous the girl was and did not press further. After the interview, she told her to wait for notification as well. Once both candidates left, Li Ming spread the 3 resumes side by side on the coffee table. She had already decided on Aunt Wang for the housekeeper role. The personal assistant choice required more consideration. The first candidate was Lin Zi, 25, an English graduate from Shanghai International Studies University. She had consultancy experience, was composed, reserved, and highly organized. The second candidate was Zhao Nianyan, 23, with a Chinese literature degree and 8 months of administrative work experience. She was amiable but lacked experience handling complicated arrangements. Li Ming picked up her phone and messaged the recruitment agency, "I will hire Aunt Wang as housekeeper and Lin Zi as personal assistant. Ask them to start work at 9 tomorrow morning." The agency replied immediately, "Understood, Ms. Li." It was nearly 5 o'clock by the time everything was arranged. The sun hung low outside the window, painting the Huangpu River in warm orange light. Li Ming stretched out on the sofa. She now had a housekeeper and a personal assistant starting the next day. From tomorrow onwards, she would no longer need to worry about household chores or travel arrangements. She could focus on enjoying life, shopping, and earning points. Checking the time, she decided to dine out tonight. She had never tried dinner along the Bund, so she booked a French restaurant to treat herself after a busy day. Zhou Nian sent a message at 9 the next morning. "Li Ming, are you free today? Jin Yu and I are heading to IPM to buy jewelry. Do you want to come?" Li Ming was eating breakfast by the floor to ceiling windows of the living room. Aunt Wang had started work that morning and prepared preserved egg congee, a fried egg, and a small plate of seasoned cucumber. After finishing her interviews the previous day, she had dined alone at the French restaurant and slept for almost 10 hours, waking up unusually early. Li Ming was wearing light blue silk pajamas. She smiled upon reading the message and replied, "I'll come." Zhou Nian answered right away, "Perfect. Let's meet on the ground floor of IPM at 11. I plan to buy a necklace, and Chinyu wants a bracelet. You should look around too. Summer calls for new necklaces and bracelets." Li Ming got changed and headed out. She wore the light blue silk blouse and matching straight-leg trousers from Chanel, paired with beige mid-heel sandals. Over her shoulder hung her white quilted flap bag. Her hair fell loosely over her shoulders, and she wore the pair of off-white Dior stud earrings. Lin Zi was already waiting downstairs. She drove a black Mercedes. Li Ming had arranged for a 1-month rental the day before as a temporary vehicle. Inside the car, Li Ming opened her system panel. Current points, 486. She planned to spend heavily on jewelry today, and she still held the multiplier card. She converted all her available points into cash. After deducting minor small amounts, 5 million yuan was now available in her account. She checked the reward she had drawn earlier. Limited, time consumption multiplier card unknown rate/unknown duration. She tapped the card, and a line of text appeared. Activate to reveal the specific multiplier and time limit. She would activate it at the jewelry shop to maximize its benefit. 11 o'clock arrived. Zhou Nian and Qin Yu were waiting in the central atrium on the ground floor of IPM. Zhou Nian wore a yellow dress and carried a white Chanel 22 handbag, the style she had admired in the boutique some time ago. She had obviously decided to purchase it after all. Qin Yu was dressed entirely in black, looking sharp, with 2 stacked Cartier love bracelets on her wrist. Li Ming. Zhou Nian waved from afar. You're here. Let's go to Chaumet first. I've seen photos of their Josephine ring online recently. It's absolutely stunning. The three walked toward Chaumet. The boutique on the ground floor of IPM was compact, yet the diamond tiara displayed in the shop window glittered under spotlights, catching every passerby's eye. They pushed open the door. Cool air mixed with subtle fragrance washed over them. A female shop assistant in her 20s wearing a black uniform greeted them gently. Welcome to Chaumet. Zhou Nian hurried straight to the counter. I'd like to see the Josephine ring, the V-shaped one set with a pear-shaped gemstone. The assistant smiled and brought over a tray holding several rings. The Josephine collection lived up to its reputation. It featured the iconic V-shaped tiara silhouette, centered with a pear-shaped main stone and flanked by smaller diamonds. Zhou Nian tried on one set with aquamarine, then a diamond version, turning her hand back and forth to admire it. Li Ming stood beside her, scanning the display cases. An idea crossed her mind. Why not activate the limited time consumption multiplier reward now? She silently thought the command, activate. Golden text flashed across the system panel. Limited time consumption multiplier reward activated. Points are locked and cannot be exchanged for the duration. Multiplier, 3x. Time limit, 60 minutes. Countdown initiated. 59 minutes, 59 seconds. 58 minutes, 57 seconds. Li Ming's eyes widened slightly. 3 times return and 1 full hour. She needed to complete her purchases within 60 minutes. Her points were temporarily locked. Fortunately, she had converted all of them into cash beforehand. With a 3-fold return, the more she spent, the more she gained. Li Ming watched the countdown ticking steadily downwards. She took a deep breath and quickly turned to the shop assistant. Could you show me your high jewelry catalog? The assistant blinked in surprise, but soon turned to retrieve a thick album from the cabinet. Li Ming flipped it open, her gaze sweeping rapidly across every page. Chaumet's new 2024 high jewelry collections, Envolée de Rêves and Danse du Firmament, showcased masterpieces crafted to the highest standard. Her eyes settled on a set from the Josephine Aigrette collection, a necklace paired with matching earrings, set in white gold and adorned with pear-shaped diamonds, the center stone weighing over 3 carats. How much is this set? She asked. The assistant glanced at the reference number and quoted a figure. This is a bespoke high jewelry set. The necklace and earrings together cost 2.6 million. 2.6 million. Li Ming did not so much as flinch. I'll take it. The assistant froze mid-movement. Zhou Nian, who had been trying on a ring nearby, lifted her head, her mouth falling slightly open. Pardon. I'd like to purchase this set, Li Ming repeated evenly. Please prepare the invoice. As the assistant stepped away to fetch the piece, Zhou Nian tugged at her arm and lowered her voice. Li Ming, have you lost your mind? Over 2 million. You barely looked at it for 3 minutes. I want it, so I'm buying it, Li Ming smiled casually. Behind her calm expression, however, she was frantically calculating the time. 7 minutes had already passed. She still had 53 minutes left. Having spent 2.6 million, she still had more than 2 million worth of spending quota to use within the hour. When the Chaumet assistant returned carrying a dark blue velvet box, another person followed behind her. A woman around 40 years old, dressed in a champagne silk slip dress with her hair neatly coiled. On her wrist rested a diamond-set Patek Philippe watch. Her gaze drifted to the catalog in Li Ming's hands, then to the velvet box held by the assistant, and she raised an eyebrow. I was told the set would be reserved for me to view, she said. Her voice was quiet, yet carried an air of unassailable authority. The assistant's expression stiffened. Ms. Zhao, this bespoke piece was only marked as something you were considering. You did not place a formal deposit. I deliberated for 2 days, and I came here today to buy it. Ms. Zhao turned her gaze toward Li Ming, sizing her up and down. A young woman in her early 20s wearing Chanel, clearly well off. After 20 years circulating in high society, she had seen countless young women dressed like this. Many came just to browse, and very few could actually afford to spend millions on high jewelry. Young lady, Ms. Zhao's tone was cool and reserved. I had my eye on this set first. Jewelry this elaborate would not suit someone of your age. Zhou Nian gasped beside them, while Chen Yu quietly stepped back half a pace, keeping out of the confrontation. Li Ming was burning with anxiety inside. Every second slipping away was precious, and she had no time to argue. Yet none of this showed on her face. She simply smiled and spoke calmly. Ms. Zhao, you thought about it for 2 days. I made up my mind in less than 3 minutes. When it comes to jewelry, it all comes down to affinity and resolve. Once you hesitate, the chance slips away. Ms. Zhao's complexion darkened. For 20 years, everyone in her social circle had addressed her as Sister Zhao. No one had ever spoken to her with such blunt disregard. Still, Li Ming's manner was poised and respectful. She showed no desire to quarrel, nor any intention of backing down. She merely stated a plain fact. The assistant hurried to defuse the tension. Ms. Zhao, would you care to look at another piece? We've just received a Harmony Collection necklace with an 8-carat centered diamond, larger than this one. Ms. Zhao held Li Ming's stare for several seconds before looking away. She said nothing more and followed the assistant toward another counter. As she walked past Li Ming, she paused and shot another glance at her. There was no malice in that look, only scrutiny and curiosity. Premium target ×1, trust value plus 1,000. Current points, 1,000. Li Ming was briefly stunned. 1,000 points meant this was a premium target. Ms. Zhao's wealth far exceeded her expectations. But she had no time to dwell on it. 12 minutes had gone by. She swiftly completed the card payment. The 2.6 million was deducted, and she handed the dark blue velvet box back to the assistant. Please wrap this and arrange delivery to my address. She then turned to Zhou Nian and Chen Yu. Let's go, next stop. Zhou Nian let herself be pulled outside, still dazed. Why are you in such a rush today? I suddenly felt like shopping. Li Ming offered a casual excuse. I plan to finish all my purchases within an hour. Huh? Don't ask, just hurry. Van Cleef Arpels occupied the opposite side of the first floor of IPM. The boutique was bustling with customers when they walked in. A woman in a Dior suit stood at the counter trying on a diamond necklace, its floral pendant encrusted with countless stones that shimmered brightly under the spotlights. Beside her stood a young man, staring down at his phone. Li Ming walked straight to the counter. I want the flower lace necklace, plus the matching earrings and ring. The full set. All of them. Li Ming pulled out her phone. Zhou Nian widened her eyes. You're moving way too fast. Aren't you going to ask the price first? Worried that Li Ming might underestimate the cost of high jewelry, the assistant quickly gave the quotation. Miss, this is high jewelry. The necklace costs 180,000, the earrings 230,000, and the ring 200,000. The total comes to 610,000. As the payment went through, Zhou Nian shook her head. Today, I've truly witnessed what it means to have unlimited funds. Chen Yu rarely spoke up. You weren't much different when you bought your handbags last time. My handbags are necessities. Are these accessories necessities? Leave her to it. Overhearing their conversation, the woman in the white blazer nearly dropped the necklace she was holding. She had spent almost 20 minutes trying on jewelry in the boutique, wavering over whether to buy that 180,000 necklace. Li Ming had walked in, settled on the full set worth 610,000 within minutes. She could not help but marvel inwardly. Both born into wealthy families, yet the difference between them was staggering. Hi, class target ×1, trust value plus 100. Current points, 1100. After settling the bill, Li Ming checked the countdown on her system panel. 40 minutes remaining. Zhou Nian was speechless. Chen Yu remained relatively calm and lowered her voice to speak to Li Ming. Is this shopping urge of yours really on a time limit? Yes. I feel unsettled if I don't finish shopping within the set time. She had no choice but to play the part of an impulsive shopper to make her behavior believable. Chen Yu drew a breath. Let's head to Cartier. The Cartier boutique was even busier. With Qixi Festival approaching, many couples were browsing wedding bands and bracelets. Li Ming scanned the displays and walked over to the love bracelet counter. She pointed out several pieces, a white gold full diamond love bracelet worth 370,000, a plain rose gold model priced at 36,000, and a rose gold diamond set just unclue bracelet for 320,000. I'll take all 3 bracelets. Also the full diamond Trinity 3 band necklace, the one priced at 490,000. The assistant's fingers tapped rapidly on the register. A couple trying on wedding rings nearby paused. The young woman tugged her boyfriend's sleeve and stared at the 3 bracelets and 1 necklace laid out before Li Ming. The total well over 1.2 million, purchased without hesitation. Look at her, the girl whispered. Her boyfriend glanced over and said something to comfort her before buying the pair of rings they had been eyeing for a long time. Mid-tier target ×1, trust value +10. Current points, 1110 stepping out of Cartier, 28 minutes remained. Li Ming quickly tallied the costs in her head. Chaumet 2.6 million, Van Cleef Arpels 610,000, Cartier 21 million. Altogether 4.42 million, leaving her 580,000 of her quota. Let's go to Bulgari, she told Zhou Nian and Chen Yu. The Bulgari assistants were run off their feet. The Chishi Limited Edition Diva's Dream Collection had just launched, drawing crowds of visitors. Li Ming squeezed up to the counter and pointed. The pink sapphire fan necklace, plus the matching earrings and bracelet. The assistant calculated the sum. The full Diva's Dream set is approximately 200,000. Swipe the card, I'm short on time. Right away, I'll process your payment immediately. The assistant happily completed the transaction and arranged packaging. Despite the stream of customers that day, few had made their selection as swiftly as Li Ming. Tiffany was her last stop. 15 minutes were left when she rushed into the boutique. Her eyes immediately locked onto the Tiffany Lock 2 tone gold necklace with partial diamond pave. The small size style launched online globally on Tmall in July 2024. I'll take this lock necklace, plus a pair of not diamond earrings and the Elsa Peretti smile necklace. Pack all of them for me. The assistant quickly added up the prices. The lock necklace is 87,000, the earrings 60,000, and the smile necklace 110,000. The total is 257,000. Swipe the card. Li Ming completed the final payment just as the countdown hit 0. She leaned against the Tiffany counter and let out a long breath, steadying the slight tremor in her body brought on by surging excitement. Zhou Nian and Chen Yu stood beside her, exchanging glances, their faces a mixture of shock, awe, and confusion. Li Ming, Zhou Nian finally spoke. How much have you spent today in total? Li Ming ran the numbers through her mind. Chaumet 2.6 million, Van Cleef Arpels 610,000, Cartier 21 million, Bulgari 200,000, Tiffany 257,000. Nearly 4.877 million yuan in total. Golden text suddenly appeared on her system panel. Limited, time consumption multiplier reward calculation. Total spending 4,877,000 times 3 is equal to 14,631,000. Reward transferred to trust fund account. 14,631,000 yuan. Li Ming could not suppress the upward tug of her lips as she stared at the figure. Roughly 5 million, she told Zhou Nian. But it's been very rewarding. Judging by the stunned expressions of Zhou Nian and Chen Yu, they undoubtedly believed she was a reckless big spender. When they left the mall after settling all payments, Li Ming only carried the Bulgari and Tiffany bags. The rest of the purchases were too numerous and scheduled for home delivery that afternoon. Zhou Nian clutched several shopping bags, thoroughly exhilarated. Today was incredible. You're amazing, Li Ming. I'm bringing you along every time I go shopping from now on. Chen Yu rolled her eyes. You just want to watch her pay the bills. Be quiet. The 3 stood laughing at the entrance of IPM when a voice called out behind them. Zhou Nian. All 3 turned around at once. The person calling Zhou Nian was a young woman of around 24 or 25, wearing a dark green silk dress and carrying a white Hermes Kelly bag. Behind her stood another girl of similar age in a pink Chanel knit top and jeans, holding multiple shopping bags. Suwan. Zhou Nian's face lit up. What are you doing here? Suwan smiled and walked closer. I was out shopping with Meng Yao. I spotted you upstairs a little while ago. Her gaze naturally drifted toward Li Ming. Who is this? Oh, this is my new friend Li Ming. Zhou Nian introduced her enthusiastically. Li Ming, this is Suwan, my high school classmate. And this is her friend Meng Yao. Li Ming smiled at them. Nice to meet you both. Suwan sized Li Ming up. She was dressed in Chanel, carrying Bulgari and Tiffany bags. Suwan had a sharp eye. Everything the young woman wore and held added up to at least 7 or 800,000 yuan. What stood out was how casually she handled the shopping bags, with no trace of regret after spending such a large sum. Did you just buy all these? Suwan nodded toward the bags. Yes, I've been browsing around. On your own. I came with Zhou Yen and Chinyu. Hi, class target times 2, trust value plus 200. Current trust value, 1310. Suwon smiled. You should join us for shopping sometime. We have a group chat where we often arrange shopping trips and afternoon tea. Would you like to join? Li Ming was caught off guard by the straightforward invitation. Zhou Yen nodded vigorously. Say yes. The group is so fun. They host all kinds of events. I even went on a yacht party with them once. Suwon pulled out her phone. Scan my QR code? Li Ming added Suwon's WeChat and was immediately invited into a group named Magic City Squad. There were about a dozen members. Most profile pictures belonged to young women, and their cover photos featured Parisian landmarks or seaside vacation shots. By the way, Suwon put her phone away as if something had just occurred to her. There's a charity gala next Saturday evening at the Bund One Art Center. The organizer is an uncle of mine. I can get you an invitation if you're interested. It's just dinner, drinks, and photos. Plenty of people will attend. A charity gala. The venue would attract wealthy business owners, entrepreneurs, and social celebrities. She would likely encounter numerous high-class and even premium targets there. That sounds lovely, she kept her tone calm. Thank you. Don't mention it. Suwon waved her hand. I'll send you the invitation details closer to the date. Just dress formally, there's no need to go overboard. She left with Meng Yao after that. Zhou Yen grabbed Li Ming's arm, beside herself with excitement. You're so lucky. Suwon rarely invites new people into the group. She must have taken a real liking to you. Li Ming smiled without reply. Privately, she knew Suwon's willingness to add her to the group and offer a gala invitation stemmed not from personal fondness, but from the shopping bags she carried. In this social circle, spending power served as the most effective calling card. The recent spike in trust value proved it. Li Ming checked her system panel in her mind. She had been so occupied with the timed shopping challenge that she had not kept track of points. Total points, 1310. Seeing the number filled her with delight. Over 1,300 points. Combined with the tripled reward from her purchases, her assets now stood at more than 27 million yuan. She had also gained entry to a local wealthy social circle and secured access to a charity gala. The day had been exceptionally fruitful. Zhou Yen scrolled through her phone as they walked and suddenly gasped. Hey Li Ming, are you free tonight? There's a gathering you could join. What kind of gathering? A friend of mine is hosting it. Her family runs an investment firm. She's booked a function room at the Peninsula Hotel and invited a group of acquaintances for dinner and conversation. Zhou Yen continued. I mentioned you earlier, and she said you're welcome to come. She knows loads of people, folks working in finance, real estate, and several family-owned industrial businesses. It's a great chance to network if you want to meet more people. Li Ming paused. This upscale private dinner was different from casual encounters in boutiques, but it would be worthwhile to build familiarity. If she attended, most guests would register as at least high-class targets. I'd love to come, she said. Zhou Yen clapped her hands happily. Great. 7 o'clock at the Peninsula. Dress nicely, my friend has very high standards. I understand. The three parted ways outside IPM. Zhou Yen and Chinyu left in one car. Li Ming stood by the road waiting for her assistant. She glanced at the address Zhou Yen had sent, the Peninsula Hotel, 32, East Zhongshan Road, the Bund. A flicker of nervousness stirred inside her. Zhou Yen's friend and her guests operated in an elite circle far removed from the strangers she had met in jewelry stores. Those people observed others and judged character with far greater discernment. Before she could think further, her car arrived. Li Ming opened the door and got in, speaking to Lin Ziyi. Take me home first. Drop me off at the Peninsula at 6:30 this evening. Lin Ziyi glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Very well, Miss Li. She arrived home at 3 in the afternoon. Li Ming dumped the Bulgari and Tiffany bags onto the carpet and sank back into the sofa, staring up at the ceiling for a moment. She rolled onto her side and messaged Lin Ziyi, find a makeup artist who can come to my home for gala makeup. Lin Ziyi replied instantly. I will send you 3 options within 20 minutes. Li Ming rolled over on the sofa, then remembered something and walked into her walk-in wardrobe. She scanned her dresses and stopped at a black Dior gown. The design was sleek with a V-neck and fitted waist, falling to mid-calf. She pulled it out and hung it up, pairing it with black heels set with small diamonds. For accessories, she chose a small white horizontal Dior lady bag. 20 minutes later, Lindsay sent over 3 makeup artists' contact information. Li Ming picked one with the most polished portfolio and made the call. Hello, this is Sunny, your makeup artist. What time would you like the service? I need to be finished by 6:30. Understood. I will arrive at 4 o'clock. After ending the call, Li Ming leaned back on the sofa and closed her eyes. The day had drained her. The timed shopping spree had felt like a sprint, keeping her adrenaline high for hours. Now the rush faded, leaving her exhausted yet still energized. Sunny arrived promptly at 4 o'clock. Slender with short hair and subtle everyday makeup, she carried a black makeup case and laid out brushes, foundation, and eyeshadows neatly as soon as she stepped inside. What style are you hoping for, Miss Li? Li Ming considered it. Nothing overly heavy. Keep the look clean, but polished enough to hold its own at formal events, without appearing timid. Sunny looked her over. Got it. A style that complements your natural features. Li Ming closed her eyes while the artist worked, nearly dozing off before she was gently roused. All done. Sunny set down her brushes and stepped back to assess her work. Take a look. Li Ming turned toward the mirror. Her features had been refined subtly, with no obvious heavy makeup. Flawless foundation lent her skin a soft glow, her eyes brightened, and her overall appearance radiated poise. Her hair was neatly pulled back, exposing her slender neck. It looks wonderful, Li Ming said sincerely. Sunny smiled, packed her equipment, and left. Glancing at her bare neck, Li Ming selected the Van Cleef Arpels flower-laced diamond set. The independent floral design was simple yet elegant. She decided against wearing the pricier Chaumet high jewelry. It would have come across as overly ostentatious for this small private dinner. When Lindsay dropped her off at the entrance of the Peninsula Hotel, it was exactly 6:45. The sky had not fully darkened yet. The lights along the Bund had just turned on, casting a shimmering golden streak across the surface of the Huangpu River. Li Ming got out of the car at the entrance. A doorman in a white uniform stepped forward to open the door for her. She stepped forward in her high heels and walked into the lobby. Giant crystal chandeliers hung overhead, and the marble floor was so polished it mirrored every figure. A subtle, sophisticated floral scent lingered in the air. Zhou Nian was already waiting for her in the lobby. She wore a dark green slip dress adorned with tiny beads that sparkled under the lights. She spotted Li Ming and hurried over. Wow! You look stunning today. Zhou Nian looked her up and down. Did you put honey on your lips this morning? My lips are always sweet, thank you. Zhou Nian linked arms with her and headed inside. Come on. My sister and the others are in the banquet hall on the 3rd floor. Li Ming followed her into the elevator up to the 3rd floor. When the elevator doors slid open, she froze for a moment. She thought to herself, so this is what a formal banquet looks like. The entire hall was decorated in champagne gold tones. Several crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting soft warm light over every table covered with white tablecloths. Quite a few guests had already arrived, standing in small groups chatting. Most of the men wore suits, and the women were dressed in evening gowns or formal outfits. Occasional glints caught the eye as they swirled wine glasses between their fingers. Waiters weaved through the crowd carrying silver serving trays. Zhou Nian tugged Li Ming's wrist and led her through the crowd to a table by the window. Seated at the table was a woman in her mid-30s wearing a white tailored suit dress with short cropped hair. A pair of diamond stud earrings glinted on her exposed earlobes. She was talking to the person beside her but smiled when she saw Zhou Nian approaching. Nian Nian. She walked over, glancing first at Zhou Nian then at Li Ming. Is this the friend you told me about? Right, sis. This is Li Ming. Zhou Nian gently pushed Li Ming forward. Li Ming, this is my sister Zhou Yi. Li Ming gave a slight bow. Hello, Ms. Zhou. Zhou Yi smiled politely. Hello, welcome tonight. There are many people around your age here. Nian Nian, introduce your friend to everyone. She was called away by another guest before she could say more. Zhou Nian pulled at Li Ming's arm. Let's get ourselves a drink first. Zhou Nian lowered her voice beside her. Don't be nervous. My sister's always been quiet. She invited you so you can meet more people. Go chat with that group over there. They're around my age. She nodded toward a round table on the far side of the hall. 4 or 5 young people sat there, 2 men and 3 women, roughly between 25 and 30. Their outfits suggested they had come straight from business engagements. Some held wine glasses talking, while others stared down at their phones. Zhou Nian pulled Li Ming over. Everyone at the table looked up as they approached. A man in a light gray shirt smiled at Zhou Nian. Nian Nian, you're running late today. Traffic was terrible on the way. Zhou Nian sat down and gestured for Li Meng to take a seat. Let me introduce everyone. This is Li Meng, a new friend of mine. That's Jiang Yi, Lu Xiaodong, Sun Kiki, Zhao Zhuoran, and who's missing? Over here. Another man in a white shirt leaned forward. As Li Meng sat down, she subtly squeezed her fingers beneath the tablecloth. The people across from her were all in their 20s. The men wore sharply tailored shirts, and the women wore delicate fine jewelry. Li Meng? What a lovely name. Sun Kiki tilted her head to study her. Did you come to Ms. Zhou Yi's gathering to network too? Li Meng was caught off guard for a second, then smiled. What gave me away? Because that's exactly why I'm here, Sun Kiki admitted frankly, pointing at herself. My family runs a home building materials business. Dad keeps telling me to get out and expand my horizons. This is my third time at one of these events, and I still haven't properly connected with anyone. Zhao Zhuoran laughed. Didn't you add several people's WeChat accounts last time? What's the point? None of them messaged me. Sun Kiki pouted. Li Meng laughed at her straightforwardness, and her nervousness melted away. It turned out everyone at this table was much like her, brought along by family or friends to broaden their social circle. Lu Xiaodong held a fruit juice and asked across the table, Li Meng, what line of work is your family in? I heard Zhou Nian say you just got back to Shanghai not long ago. Here it comes. Li Meng had expected this question. She took a sip of water from her glass, quickly running through the backstory provided by the system. My family, She set down the glass, keeping her tone casual. My grandfather moved to the United States. They started out in the catering business, then gradually expanded into commercial real estate and investment. I don't really get involved in company operations though. For now, I'm just living off a family trust fund. She spoke casually, as if it were nothing worth dwelling on, yet silence briefly fell over the table. The U.S. Jiang Yi raised an eyebrow. Which family name? I might have heard of you. Li Group, Li Meng replied. You might not know us. Our operations are mainly along the East Coast. Li Group, Zhao Zhuoran frowned, trying to recall. The one with catering and commercial real estate interests? I think I've heard the name. My uncle worked with an American investment fund once, and word was the backers were Chinese investors based in the States. He trailed off, but the reaction from Zhao Zhuoran told everyone his words held weight. Zhao Zhuoran's family worked in investment, and his uncle dealt with major capital partners. If he recognized the name, the story was likely genuine. Li Meng felt a wave of relief. Zhao Zhuoran's response made her fabricated identity far more credible. Just then, the system notification sounded. Hi, value targets times 5, trust points plus 500. Current points, 1810. Sun Kiki cared little about business backgrounds. She leaned in and whispered, how much do you get from the trust fund every month? No pressure to answer if it's private. Li Meng laughed. Enough to get by. Enough to get by. Sun Kiki repeated the phrase and sighed. Enough means completely different things for rich people and the rest of us. The whole table laughed. Sun Kiki's unfiltered personality made her easy to like, and Li Meng's remaining awkwardness faded entirely. She looked curiously around at the lavish scene she had only seen in television dramas before. She picked up her champagne and took a sip. It tasted wonderful. She set the glass down and glanced around. Zhao Zhuoran and Jiang Yi were discussing investment funds. Sun Kiki showed Lu Xiaodong photos of a handbag on her phone. Zhou Nian waved and chatted with guests from another table who had wandered over. At that moment, a young woman in a black lace dress walked over holding a champagne flute. She looked under 30, with a pearl hair clip tucked into one side of her short hair. She smiled with upturned eyes. Nian Nian, you brought a friend and didn't introduce me? Ah, Sister Lin Shan. Zhou Nian put down her glass. This is Li Meng, a friend I met recently. Li Meng, this is Sister Lin Shan. Her family is a luxury goods distributor. They own several boutiques in IPM Mall. Li Meng held out her hand. Nice to meet you. Lin Shan shook her hand. Her gaze lingered for a moment on Li Meng's Van Cleef Arpels diamond ring before drifting to the matching large flower necklace around her neck. She had worked in the luxury industry for over a decade. She could instantly distinguish genuine pieces from replicas and estimate their market value. This set of fine jewelry would cost around 600,000 to 700,000 yuan. Only someone with considerable wealth could afford a matching high jewelry set. Clearly, she was not an ordinary social media influencer trying to climb the social ladder. That jewelry set suits you beautifully, Lin Shan complimented her. Thank you. You have great taste. I've had my eye on this collection for ages, Lin Shan said. I just couldn't bring myself to buy it. You made up your mind quickly. Hi, value target times 1, trust points plus 100. Current points, 1910. Li Ming silently thanked Lin Shan for the extra points. She smiled and spoke in a tone that sounded effortlessly privileged. If I like something, I buy it. Hesitate, and it might be gone. Playing the wealthy heiress meant dropping casual remarks like this. This was how she earned more points. Lin Shan was momentarily stunned by her confidence, her smile faltering slightly. You've given me an idea. I saw a Bulgari necklace last month and kept putting it off. I'll go buy it tomorrow. They chatted further about skincare and jewelry, getting along well, and Lin Shan added Li Ming's WeChat before leaving. Zhou Nian sighed beside her. Li Ming, I'm surprised Sister Lin Shan came over to talk to you voluntarily. You two hit it off. She's usually quite reserved with strangers. Li Ming thought to herself that they were not really bonding. Lin Shan simply saw her expensive jewelry and viewed her as a potential high-end customer. Her thoughts were interrupted when noise in the hall died down briefly. Two people walked through the entrance. The man was around 50, dressed in a dark gray suit. He moved with steady, confident steps and carried an imposing aura. Beside him was a woman in her early 40s wearing a navy satin cheongsam with a delicate strand of pearls around her neck. She wore little ornamentation, yet commanded everyone's attention. Zhou Yi hurried forward to greet them, far more deferential than she had been with other guests. Someone beside Li Ming murmured, "That's Mr. Jiang and Mrs. Jiang." Zhou Nian tugged Li Ming's sleeve. Mr. Jiang founded a new energy enterprise. He's been listed on Forbes. You must have heard of him. Li Ming quickly searched her memory. Forbes listed new energy tycoon surnamed Jiang. In her previous life, she had read financial news about Jiang Mingyuan, founder of a leading new energy firm with a net worth exceeding 10 billion yuan. She suddenly realized how exclusive Zhou Yi's gathering truly was. The attendees were not merely affluent, they belonged to society's uppermost tier. Zhou Yi led the couple around to greet acquaintances. They paused beside Li Ming's table. Li Ming instinctively straightened her posture. "This young lady looks unfamiliar," Mrs. Jiang said gently. Zhou Yi spoke up. "Her name is Li Ming. She's Nian Yan's friend." "Oh, Mrs. Jiang looked Li Ming over again. "I know nearly all of Nian Yan's friends. Are you new to this circle?" Though nervous under the scrutiny of such an important figure, Li Ming kept her smile relaxed. "Yes. I came along with Nian Yan to broaden my horizons today." Mrs. Jiang nodded faintly. "It's good to see more of the world while you're young." Supreme. Tier target times 1, trust points plus 1,000. Current points, 2910. High, value target times 1, trust points plus 100. Current points, 3010. Li Ming was shocked. She had gained 1,000 points just like that. She had expected to put in far more effort to earn points from a supreme tier target, yet a few simple sentences were enough. Excitement bubbled up inside her. This banquet was absolutely worthwhile. She barely registered the 100 points from Zhou Yi, her attention fixed on the massive reward from Mrs. Jiang. Mrs. Jiang exchanged a few more pleasantries before moving on. Once they were out of earshot, Zhou Nian whispered, "Mrs. Jiang rarely chats this long with someone she's just met. Is that considered long? We only exchanged 3 sentences. 3 sentences is plenty. There are people who've known her for years and still can't get her to remember their names." Li Ming did not know whether to laugh or cry. Shortly afterward, dinner service began. Guests took their seats. Li Ming remained at the same table as Zhou Nian and Sun Kiki, though seating shifted, and several unfamiliar guests joined them. On her left sat a middle-aged man working in real estate. On her right was a young woman who ran a fast-moving consumer goods brand. The pair discussed market trends and potential cooperation plans for the second half of the year. Li Ming did not try to join the conversation. She sat quietly eating and listening, nodding and smiling occasionally. She focused on cutting her steak. One of the perks of banquets was the free fine dining. She had grown adept at slicing meat neatly. She ate steak, sipped red wine, and listened to business discussions, feeling calm and comfortable. Everyone else was busy pitching partnerships or seeking investment. Li Ming alone concentrated on her meal. Her laid-back demeanor stood out amid the intense negotiations. Mid-conversation, the real estate executive turned toward her. "What industry do you work in, Ms. Li?" "I do some investment work," she answered. "I'm only just starting out." It was not entirely a lie. The money she redeemed with system points funded her lifestyle, and investing in her identity and social standing counted as an investment. She offered no specifics, leaving room for speculation. What kind of investments? I spread my capital across different areas. I focus on long-term value. She smiled casually. I still have a lot to learn. I'm here today to learn from all of you experienced professionals. The real estate man sensed she preferred not to disclose details. Seeing how unhurried she was, with no desperate urge to network, he suspected Li Ming's social standing was far above his own. He dropped the subject, but his gaze toward her grew more attentive. Hi, value targets ×2, trust points +200. Current points, 3210. The woman from the FMCG company glanced at her and handed over a business card. If you're an investor, we should keep in touch. I'm looking for funding for a new project. I'd love to. Li Ming guessed she was the source of the additional 100 points. She accepted the card and tucked it away. She glanced at the name and company printed on it. It was no small enterprise, one of China's well-known FMCG brands, and this woman was a co-founder. Investing in the venture might be a solid way to generate steady income. The dinner lasted 3 hours. She had earned 1,900 trust points in total. Today's gains were incredible. What are you thinking about? Zhou Nian asked her after the banquet ended. Li Ming lifted her head and looked toward the illuminated Lujiazui skyscrapers glowing against the night sky. Nothing, she smiled. Just thinking I've met so many remarkable people tonight. Of course you have. Zhou Nian lifted her chin proudly. My sister's events are always top tier. You did really well tonight. She told me you're welcome to join us more often. Really? Absolutely. She said you speak little but carry yourself steadily. Most importantly, she did not seek attention or stir up drama. Thank you, Li Ming said. That's the best compliment I could ask for. Zhou Nian laughed loudly. I'll pass the message on. A black Mercedes pulled over to the curb. Lindsay stepped out of the driver's seat and opened the car door for her. Li Ming leaned back against the seat and closed her eyes. The car smoothly traveled along the bund. Streetlights streaked past the window, casting alternating light and shadow across her face. The evening's socializing had been exhausting, and there were moments she felt completely out of place. But thinking about her newly acquired points made it all worthwhile. When she arrived home, the night view outside the floor-to-ceiling windows remained dazzling, the 3 iconic Lujiazui towers shining as always. Dressed in her elegant gown with the stunning city view behind her, Li Ming imagined this was the glamorous life she had dreamed of as a child, the sophisticated urban professional returning home after work. Yet reality was far less romantic. That fantasy came with endless overtime, difficult supervisors, and constant burnout, the true life of ordinary office workers. She silently thanked the system that had appeared after her accident. Without it, she would never have reached this life. People often say the poor can only change their fate through luck or opportunity. She woke up late the next morning, sunlight flooding the entire bed. Li Ming rolled over and grabbed her phone. Several unread messages waited on the screen. Zhou Nian invited her out for afternoon tea. Su Wan messaged to say the charity gala invitation would be sent to her next week. Sun Kiki, whom she had added the night before, sent a cat emoji. She ignored all the messages, tossed the phone beside her pillow, and lingered in bed for another 5 minutes before getting up. She had slept soundly through the night. The long day, filled with shopping and socializing at the banquet, had drained all her energy, and she had fallen asleep instantly upon returning home. She walked into the living room in her pajamas. Aunt Wang was already there. A bowl of wontons and a glass of fruit juice sat on the dining table. Li Ming sat down and took a sip of juice. An idea suddenly occurred to her. These past few days, she had rushed from shopping trips to social events, her schedule packed. Today was Friday. The charity gala would take place next Saturday, leaving several free days in between. Why not take some time to unwind? She picked up her phone and checked her calendar. She had no commitments until the following Wednesday. She could travel somewhere nearby. Japan came to mind at once. The thought took hold immediately. Tokyo. Shopping, fine food, hot springs, browsing boutiques. A 3-day, 2-night trip, long enough to relax without disrupting her plans. Li Ming set down her chopsticks and messaged Lindsay, arrange an expedited Japanese tourist visa for me. I plan to spend 3 days in Tokyo next week. Lindsay replied quickly, understood, Ms. Li. Is your passport at home? Yes. I'll find it and pass it to you shortly. I will head over to collect it and submit the application today. Which hotel would you like to book in Tokyo? Li Ming thought for a moment. the Peninsula or Amman. Check which location is most convenient for shopping. Noted. When do you plan to depart? Tuesday. Fly back Thursday. Received. I will send you the flight and hotel reservations for confirmation once arranged. Li Ming set down her phone, feeling lighthearted. She had never traveled abroad. Her passport had sat gathering dust in a drawer for 2 or 3 years. Every time she planned a trip, something stopped her. No money, no spare time, no travel companion. Now she possessed wealth, free time, and a personal assistant. The freedom to travel on impulse felt wonderful.